I have been thinking about this game a lot actually since I started it. Like, in the past week, since I put this game down, I have recommended it to like everybody. I've recommended it to friends, recommended it to folks at fencing, talked to my roommate about it, just like telling everybody that this game is really fantastic and good and interesting, and I think everybody should know about it. So, like, for what it's worth, I feel pretty captured by this game. I'm not gonna lie. Um, like, I have been thinking about it. Like, I've been trying to think about like what what could I have done? Could I have done something to save her, Tammy? Um, and I don't know. I feel like it feels like it's like a scripted loss at this point, but there's that maddening feeling that maybe it's not. Maybe if only I had put my points into something different or picked different dialogue choices, maybe I could have saved her. Maybe if I replay it, because I think I'm going to have to at least do a few playthroughs of this game, maybe I can save her next time. Um, it's one of those things you almost want to like load your save and see what happens. Um, and that's really interesting to me. Um, I'm really excited that some of you folks have gone out to buy this game because, like, for one thing, I think this is the first time I can say, like, yes, my streaming of a game has resulted in sales for the developer. But this is such a splendid little game. Um, and it's by an indie studio, and we should support indies where we can. But especially when they've made something as fantastic as this. Thank you for subscribing, Chrono, my friend. Um, yeah, no, I'm dying to know what happens next. And I'm just absolutely like buzzing with what could I have done differently? How much can things change or not change? What will I be able to change in the future? Also, as I was timestamping last week's VOD, I realized in one of the flash forward moments when you're like kind of lost in time, you talk to a person who looks a lot like a grown up Tammy, which is confusing unless there's these multiple dimensions and multiple possibilities, because it's not like they even tell you when you're like going through those segments, this doesn't feel like this is a straightforward future that you're absolutely going to see. um but it seems like you're kind of like unstuck in time and loose in possibilities. So maybe there's a path in which Tammy lives. I don't know. I don't know, and I want to know. I want to save her. Um, it's I don't know. It's interesting. I'm committed. I think this playthrough to playing straight through and not loading. On my first playthrough, we may do things differently, as I progress. I may decide that something is not okay, and I want to see if I can do it differently. But I'm gonna try to just do what we get is what we get, and then we'll play through it again. Because I think it probably won't be super long. Oh shoot, I meant to grab my Quiet Year, my copy of the Quiet Year before. Well, that's okay. I'll bring that in next week, so I want to show you guys the Quiet Year, which I think is one of the inspirations for some elements of this game. And it's super cool, and if you are at all interested in it, I strongly encourage you to pick up a copy of that as well. It is not a computer game, a video game. It is a tabletop card game storytelling experience, but it's very cool. Um, yeah, but I'm excited that you folks are playing it, and now you know more about it than I do. Some of you, are there other folks who are just going in completely without knowing what's coming next with me? Um, I assume there's several of us that are like not further in the game than I am. But for those of you who are further ahead, I'm excited. I hope you're having fun screaming together about your adventures. um, So before we dive in, I did mention last stream, given that they had a child die on screen and then dealt with the repercussions of that character's death, um, it seems like it might be a good idea to at least glance over the content warnings just to see what else is going to be in store. Um, Unless we have some objections. I'm under the impression that the content warnings have like, there's like the general, and then there's like a more detailed, like a way to get more detailed information. I probably won't be doing the more detailed information because I strongly doubt that they're going to touch on my two big things that I need content warnings for. So we'll probably be all right. But let's find out. Let's see what's in the content warnings, because this game, like the name is whimsical, and the art style is a little whimsical, I think. And so there's this feeling that it's, I was like, it's probably going to have some darker stuff. It's probably going to get somewhat serious. Um, but how dark is it going to get? And this is actually a thing that I wanted to kind of mention a little bit, is because I've been thinking about it, because I like dark games. I like dark stories. But and people are sometimes surprised by that, although I've been looking through a bunch of my own stories that I have written, because I've got a project that I think I'm going to do with a bunch of my short stories. So if you've wanted to experience more Lauren writing, well, you're going to have a chance, for better or for worse, if all goes well. But I was digging through it, and I was like, man, yeah, there's a lot of darkness in these stories. And it surprises people sometimes, but that's just how I am as a person, and as a person who engages with stories, whether I'm telling them or in the audience for them, experiencing them. But there's different ways of being dark. And like, I've been really clear, I think I don't like grim dark. But things that are not, like, I think part of it has to do with the proportion of hope and darkness. Because I was thinking about this, because somebody was asking me about Pentiment on YouTube, and that is on my short list of games I really want to play. But I'm under the impression that Pentiment is a bit more in the Disco Elysium vein, as far as like the feeling of the darkness versus the amount of hope in it. And I don't know if I'm completely correct on that or not, but that's the vibe I've picked up on. Yeah, like you, Chrono, I don't like doing things that are hopeless. That is important. But the thing is, there's a balance between hope and darkness. And I think that is because I talk about like what I like best. Like, things have to have darkness in them for me to really love them. That's why Murderbot is cozy for me, because it's dark enough to satisfy my need for a certain amount of darkness in my stories. And if I read something or play something or experience something that doesn't have sufficient darkness in it, I can still enjoy it, but it's never going to resonate with me on the same level. That's just how I am, for better or for worse. And it's not any sort of a indictment of other people's tastes who differ on that front, but that's just how I am. But at the same time, like, there has to be, oh, thank you, Nick. Hi. Yes, it's time. Well, yay. Thank you for subscribing, folks. I appreciate that. That helps us buy more video games and pay for the internet so that I can continue to do stuff like this. But yeah, things like Disco Elysium. The thing is, the people who made Disco Elysium still have hope. They're like jaded and bitter, but still hopeful things can get better. But I think it is possible to play through that game and have it be a hopeless experience in which everything gets worse. And I think that there is this sort of cynicism in it that makes it not entirely safe or comfortable for me. And so with Pentiment, I thought perhaps it would have a little bit more of that, because I think I heard more comparisons between it and Disco Elysium. And don't get me wrong, Disco Elysium is very good. It's very good, and it has a lot of things that are very much for me, but it does have this kind of like dark cynicism, almost nastiness to it that is a little bit more than what I personally like. Yes, it is a very cynical story, but it's not necessarily hopeless. But on like the darkness to hope balance, it feels more like it leans towards cynical darkness. I Was a Teenage Exocolonist is going dark places. They have killed a child in the story and are dealing with the consequences. This is not just an offhand background thing that happened in the past. And so they're clearly going to go places, but I feel like even though I can see places where like the seams perhaps will start coming apart when it comes to like a more optimistic view of humanity, I feel like fundamentally this game seems like it is starting from a position of hopefulness and then blending in a lot of darkness into that. But we'll see if I still feel that way as I continue all the way through. This is just kind of my feeling about that. And I find this, I hope you don't mind, like I'm still sitting on the title screen talking about this, but for me, this sort of thing is really interesting. I love thinking about what do I find appealing in stories and why, and how do I feel about this story and why, and things like that, you know? So it's really, really interesting stuff, I think, for me. So I appreciate you indulging me as I talk through it. Also, Blues, thank you for subscribing. This is apparently the time for mods to up their subscriptions. Um, oh man. Can I tell you guys a secret, speaking of video game music in Final Fantasy VI? We haven't been officially announced yet, but I was just practicing the fourth movement of Dancing Mad because my band is going to be performing it. Just the fourth movement. We don't have time to pull together the whole thing. But the fourth movement, among other songs from other games and Final Fantasy VI, at a Final Fantasy VI themed concert that'll be taking place in California in August. So if you are in the vicinity of California in August and would be interested in seeing that, I haven't performed with my band in almost 5 years, so this is really exciting. And I was really delighted that it is Final Fantasy VI themed because my band is the Returners, you see? And we like Final Fantasy VI, and we play Final Fantasy VI music a lot. I'm sorry that I've missed the Distant Worlds because I've heard such good things about the music on the set list there. But yes, the Returners will be returning, and I'm very excited about what's in our set list. There is going to be everything we know from Final Fantasy VI. We're bringing it, and then a lot of other things as well. So it's going to be fun. I hope maybe I'll get to see some of you there. But yes, so I have big feelings about the music of Final Fantasy VI as well, and perhaps someday I'll finish the next chapter of my fanfic novelization of that game. I have a problem. Anyway, let us take a look at these content warnings in this game. No, I need to make the Steam tab thing to go away because I don't want that. Content warnings. Okay. I Was a Teenage Exocolonist is suitable for ages 13 and older. It does not contain excessive violence or explicit sex. However, it does deal with mature topics which will be uncomfortable for some players. There are many ways to live your life on Vertumna, and just like in real life, some choices can lead you to dark places. Broadly, content warnings for the game include the following. Okay. So this is interesting because we've got... So they're saying it's PG-13, which so far seems about right. And I think that that is kind of the feeling that I get. You can deal with dark topics, but there's ways of handling them. Okay, so major character death. Well, we have seen a major character die, and I'm pretty sure that everybody in the entire colony can die. I suspect that the colony can starve to death and things like that. Like, I got that feeling, man. Exactly who dies? That's interesting that if you are unsafe, if you feel unsafe without knowing this, they will tell you this so that you can make safe decisions about playing the game. Children in peril / dying. Well, we've already seen a child die. And I will say whether Tammy dying at that point is scripted for every single playthrough of the game or scripted for your first playthrough of the game or just very likely to happen on the first playthrough of your game. Like, regardless of that, I always say that if you are going to have something in your game that might be objectionable to people for various reasons, it is best to put that in early in your game, in your novel, in your movie, whatever it is that you're creating. Put something in it early so that people know to check out if it is best for them to check out. And so having a child's death within the first year out of 10 is really a wise choice on their part to make sure you know this can happen. And then they handle it very well. Because children are usually safe in games and stories. Like, killing a child in a story is a bit of a taboo. So you have to do it intentionally. And yeah, no, they do have a very nice, like the fact that you can dig in deeper if you want to. Animal cruelty and death is not surprising. Bodily harm and grossness. We'll see how bad that goes. This doesn't say torture, which is one of my, I have 2 content warning things, and only 2, that I really need to be warned about, and that is torture and sexual assault. And anything else is pretty much fair game, but those are the two that I request to have warnings about. Everything else, like I said, everything else is fine. I will be all right. Nothing else will trigger me. But those two particular things I just really have a hard time with, other than horror in general. But this is not a horror game. Um, let's see. But bodily harm and grossness, like those are like two different things. But I think I get where they're going with that. And I'm like, okay, I'm prepared to see people sustaining damage and maybe being in really rough shape. And maybe we'll have like somebody's like eye leaking out or something. I don't know. We'll see. Implied sexual content. That's interesting. It's not explicit, but they do imply sexual content. But this doesn't say non-consensual. So I'm totally fine with it. Drugs and alcohol do not bother me, but it is good to know because there are people whose lives are such that that is a triggering thing for them. Violence in text. So we will hear descriptions of people. My guess when they say violence in text, this indicates that it is going to be person-on-person violence. Because the way that, like, if you get attacked by an animal could be included in this bodily harm and grossness. But violence in text, my guess is if your people are attacking each other, that can happen. Mental health and trauma, we're already seeing depression and consequences for not just our main character, but the people in the colony as well. And this definitely feels like a game that's going to be very grounded in this. Domestic abuse. Okay. That is very interesting. I wonder if that's going to be something experienced firsthand by the main character or something that we become aware of with other characters. But we'll see. This is actually one of my favorite topics to write about in my stories, apparently. So I don't know what that says about me. But it is a kind of darkness that frequently appears it is one that I wrestle with a lot. So if I see it, like it's like abusive family dynamics and things like that, I am definitely drawn to stories that do that. Like, it is not accidental that Zuko is my favorite character in Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is not accidental that I was more easily drawn into She-Ra, Princess of Power, than I was into Steven Universe, because at the very beginning of Steven Universe, you have Steven's happy family and friends. The beginning of She-Ra, you have Shadow Weaver. And I was immediately like, I am on board. I want to see where the story is going. I saw the dynamic between Shadow Weaver and Catra and Adora, and I was like, this is what I want in a story. So for me, this means that, like, this, if this happens, and I want to make it clear when I say this is one of my favorite things to write about, I'm not saying it in a, like, oh yeah, this is exciting. No, but this is of all of the things on here, when I talk about how I write dark stories, because I do, major character death is not a signature of my writing. Children in peril or dying is not a signature of my writing. Animal cruelty and death, not a signature of my writing, nor is bodily harm and grossness. Sometimes I will imply traumatic pasts here, not particularly into drugs and alcohol, but mental health and trauma and domestic abuse are two recurring themes that I will put either literally or metaphorically in my writing a lot. Those are things that I have wrestled with a lot, that I have a personal and artistic interest in. We do what we do. And then traumatic global events. Okay, they've implied what we've left behind on Earth. And so I'm wondering how much of that is going to be connected to things that are happening on our Earth, because their cultures do not seem familiar to me. And so it feels as though their Earth is not my Earth. So we'll see what they did with that. They probably won't touch Horizon Zero Dawn on that front, but what can, really? So all of these are fine for Lawrence. I appreciate the heads up, and we will see how it is. They do not have self-harm or suicidal action or ideation written on here, and I suspect they would if they did. So that makes it less potentially destructive for some people than some other games that we've played, where we do give warnings to folks in chat in case they have to step away. If you have a personal trigger with any of these, that is absolutely, completely reasonable and normal. And if you feel comfortable, please feel free to ask in either the stream chat channel of our Discord is probably the easiest way to do that, or here, or if one of the mods, especially on Discord, will volunteer. If you want to message a mod rather than type in chat, that's fine too, and just say, this particular topic is triggering for me. Would somebody mind helping provide a warning about this content? Okay, Chrono has volunteered to be the mod to do this. Thank you, Chrono. And Blues as well. And I promise you that, oh, and Nick, okay. I promise you none of these folks are scary, and none of them will judge you or be contribute to the harm on this. So if you need that, please take care of yourself. That is very important to me. That's a big part of what I want to do around here. So be mindful of yourself. For example, my mods know perfectly well what my two big triggers are and are fully prepared to give me advance notice if that seems to be coming up in games as well. So there's no shame in that. But okay, are we ready to dive into the game now that we have had a little thought about content warning? I'm a little worried that folks are going to be like, oh my God, Lauren thinks it's so cool because it's edgy. Like, no, it just... You can kind of tell what someone's trauma is based on what they like to write about, and what they're interested in and what has shaped them or the people in their lives. So, yeah. We all have our things that we like to dig into, and we all have our things that we want to run away from. And I am here to talk about stories, and I'm frank about talking about myself, so that means I'm going to talk about how I engage with those things and what they feel like to me. Let's dive in. Let's continue. Beautiful background. Ah, yes. We are up to something here. Oh, I got a couple of points in toughness, making this character at age 10 already stronger than my grown-up Disco Elysium character. Sorry, Ocelot. You have been outmatched by a child. Hello, Invisible Lou. Welcome. Yes. Sorry. Shockingly, I can take 20-something minutes to just like talk about content warnings and stories and things. Gosh, this music is really nice. I like it. You're gonna have to tell me how the audio balance is, and if the music is too loud or too quiet, report back. So we're currently, my natural inclination in playing a character, like the default Lauren is playing a character, experience is going to be putting all of my points in the yellow. But I'm really motivated to put points in blue because I want to make sure that nothing like that will ever happen again with Tammy. Also, I built a character who has an easier time doing blue stuff. This is fine. It's fine. I can think my way out of problems and talk my way out of problems. I probably won't be punching my way out of problems. The thing is, my default build is not very practical. Like, being able to talk to people and keep them working together through whatever goes wrong is in some ways useful, definitely, because you can have everything else be going all right, but if your people start to fight amongst themselves, that it doesn't matter how perfectly set up the rest of your colony is, you can all die. Especially with something as fragile as existing on another planet, potentially hostile planet. But if we're being purely practical, probably being able do things that physically try to prevent problems is probably necessary. They've indicated that I should put points in biology. Like, it feels like your first playthrough, you're probably supposed to explore biology because your mom asks you to. But biology is my least favorite science. So we're not doing that. I just don't care about gushy people and animals and plants and things. It's just, there's too many bodily fluids and not enough rocks. My favorite science is definitely geology, followed by physics. That I can only understand so much physics before my brain says no. Alas. It is not in my destiny to be a physicist, but I do really like physics. It's really cool. So basically, like, the two least squishy, least liquidy, least gooey sciences, because even chemistry is gooier than those. Anyway, I think I'm funny. Look, okay. I mean, if we're talking about, like, magma, but that's fire. I'm glad that we're on the same page here. Magma's not really goopy and gross. It's scary, but not gross. Okay. Look. Anyway. No, I'm not a fan of the gooey sciences. People have made fun of me for that in high school and college. They're like, come on. Like, but they're like, but biology is the one that has the most, like, relevance to your life. I'm like, I don't care. Chemistry involves... The problem is, if you do the math wrong in chemistry, it goes bad. If you do the math wrong in physics, you get a bad grade. You're not gonna accidentally set the science room on fire. or cause an unfortunate gas that's dangerous. Oh, astronomy is really cool too. That's also not very gooey. That's a good science. We can rank our sciences from most to least gooey. I'm sorry. I know there's sciences I'm overlooking as well. Oh, foolish flames, that's how I feel about physics. Tragically. I love it. It's so cool. You could just tell me cool physics facts and I'd be like, oh my god, really? But I can't physics. Space is cool, but it would definitely drive me insane. I'm definitely not one of those people who's mentally sound enough to be safe going to space. The air gets gooey when you break the sound barrier, I guess. How gooey is statistics? Oh man, statistics is not gooey, it's crunchy. It's the opposite of gooey. Physics is also crunchy. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. We're supposed to be playing a video game, folks. We're sitting here talking about the relative saltiness of maths and sciences. Does statistics count as a science or a math? Because I would say that physics is the most mathy science, and chemistry feels like it's the second most mathy science, which it isn't. This is purely, I'm going off of vibes here. Okay, good. Statistics is math, not science. That's what I thought. Yeah, well, it's like calculus is the math they made so they could do physics. Which is a selling point for calculus, which is also really neat, but I didn't do great at it. Man, we could get into... You folks realize what we're doing here is we're developing a taxonomy for science. And we're doing it about as scientifically as a lot of scientific taxonomies were created. Oh, man. Good job, everybody. Gold stars. Are they really, though? Are they really that scientific? I'm not convinced. But I come up with really dumb mnemonic devices to memorize science things. So, We can pretend that's true. That's true. We can give them the benefit of the doubt. So, is quantum physics more gooey than Newtonian? Quantum physics is so cool, though. Quantum physics is so cool. It's like the coolest thing ever, and my brain cannot. It's so unfair. I bet my character here, I bet she has a brain that could do quantum physics. So unfair. How dare. Anyway. Oh, wait, there's a thing on the ground. I'm going to pick this up. Oh, it's okay. You aren't like, you haven't missed much. We went over the content warnings and had a little chat about content warnings in general, and then we got distracted coming up with the taxonomy for the relative gooiness of science. I'm going to pick this thing up. You harvest a sturdy mushwood log. That seems useful. I bet I could give that to somebody. Be interesting on a second playthrough when you know what to give everybody. You know what things they like. And they're like, gosh, how are you so good at this? And I'm like, I'm just good with people. That's all. Yes, I'm in the same boat, Blue Glass, but I would love to know. I would love to be better at it than I am. Supposedly there's a book out there that's a good quantum physics for non-big brain people, normal people. Normies, but I haven't read it. I thought about it. I forgot what it was. So, this is all funny, silly, haha stuff that we've been joking around about because the entire colony is currently traumatized, and I suspect this is not the last time we're going to be traumatized. But they have gotten at least enough back to normal that Tangi over here, who is maybe a little science-minded and maybe prefers her thinking. I think she feels more comfortable being able to do reasoning through things rather than feelings through things. But she has assigned me a task. And since she's my BFF, I have to do it. Also, meddling is one of my favorite things. Also, they have family drama that I especially might have chosen her as my BFF partly so that I could meddle in it better. She's asked me to investigate what's going on with her twin brother, which I have completely failed to talk to this kid. I've completely messed it up. Both times I tried talking to him, I was just like, I have just not done this right. Yes, Tange definitely is more on the laser side than the feeling side. If we're gonna go lasers and feelings, man, the double clicks are cool. Yeah, no, the art is spectacular, and they really need to be able to do this otherworldly flora and fauna well, and they do. They picked a very good artist or set of artists. I believe they have 3 artists: the background artist, and then I think 2 character artists. One of the devs dropped by and was really, really gave us like a little bit of like talking about the artists and stuff last time, which was nice. So I don't think I'm gonna do very well with this kid. I'm already talking myself into pessimism about this kid, but I really want to do okay with this kid for his own sake, because it's clear, like, thing is, this kid seems, based on his responses, I, as an adult, I've lived through my childhood and thought a lot about people and known a lot of kids and had perspective on things. I am bringing the perspective to see that this kid is probably perceived as a problem by others, especially his peers, but also probably some of the adults. He has a morbid sense of, not a morbid sense of humor, but a morbid sense of curiosity. Which actually reminds me of, I was riding back from fencing with one of my new fencing club mates, and they were explaining they had just read a book on various fungal diseases, but it was an old book from the 90s, so they were like, it's not accurate, but they were talking to me about all the cool ways that fungus can kill you. I was like, oh my God. It's like when a little kid is like, let me tell you about gross bugs, and you're like, okay, please do. Um, but I feel, but like that kind of curiosity and interest in something that other people find objectionable, um, can lead to kind of like a conflict. It can lead to people being sort of like othered or treated like outsiders by a larger society, because they have stepped outside and like broken some sort of taboo without realizing it. And I get the feeling that that's kind of what the writers have set up with this kid. Um, given that he was talking about Tammy's body in a way that sounded, judging by the way societal norms have us communicating, it comes across as being not emotional, as being disrespectful, as not caring. Um, it's clear he does care, and it's clear he is upset, and on some level, that's him coping with it. He's letting us know that she died quickly, maybe painlessly, understanding as many of the details as he can about her death is how he copes with her death. But the first reaction, as somebody with a more typical way of coping with things, is to recoil from this and be like, what is wrong with you? And then he's hurt and upset because he's trying to share and connect and get the same sense of community that everybody else is getting, leaning on each other, finding support and understanding. And he was reaching out for that, and I did not meet him there. And he's used to that. Even this early in his life, he already expects people to recoil from him and say, what is wrong with you? When he is just trying to help, just trying to participate, trying to express himself and the depth of his own feelings. I think it's safe to say this kid is probably not who we would classify as neurotypical. Not to diagnose fictional characters, but I think that feels like the thought patterns we've been privy to with seeing how he is. He has a different way of engaging with and perceiving the world. But I'm going to try, both because I care about and want to try to help him, because I feel bad about the fact that I have just shoved my foot in my mouth talking to him repeatedly, and not realizing until after the conversation what has happened, and what was actually going on and what he was actually saying versus my initial reaction. But also, I like his sister, and I'm invested in their situation. So let's see how badly we stick our foot in our mouth here. I'm going to try not to, but we'll see what happens. You tell Deese that his sister Tangent wants to know where he's been disappearing off to. His eyes flit briefly to yours, then he stares vaguely off towards the engineering wing, where his sister is reading on her hollow palm between classes. He doesn't say anything. So, if I had friendship that was high enough with him, I could actually ask, but I have failed at making friends with him. In fact, I think I have like 1 point of friendship with him, so I cannot ask him where he goes. But I can say she's worried about you, or I can say you better tell me or else, or I can leave him alone. Now, in the past, I've chosen to just leave him alone because I feel like that is what he would want, and I'm like, I don't have the capacity to meddle with this. Here, I'm going to say on both a Lauren as a meddler way, although I don't know that this is the right answer, I'm going to say that this is the role-playing answer at the very least. She's worried about you. She doesn't care about me, he says sullenly. Tangent's just worried she'll get in trouble if I don't come home one day. He scowls and picks at the hem of his sweater. She doesn't care about anything but her schoolwork. Okay, so since I don't have a friendship with him, I cannot progress with this. I'm not going to threaten him. That might be the most effective answer, but I simply do not have it in me to do that. There are certain answers that may be the correct answer to fix the problem, but they're just not. I just cannot bring myself to do that, and that's one of them. For better or for worse, that's what we're doing. So I'm going to leave him alone, I guess. His shoulders slump in relief as you go. That's what he wants. Done. Well, I'll go talk to her. She won't like it. Unless I can ask others. Maybe I can investigate in a different way. You probably won't know. No. Anemone is still training. God, she's got the most adorable design, though. I love her design. Cal is still depressed. Oh. Cal's mom, Tira, is sitting with Cal against the makeshift fence that surrounds the gardens. Cal looks absolutely shattered, and Tira rubs his back comfortingly. He sees you and musters up a brave smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Hey, Solana. It's good to see you. Found something you might like. Oh! Oh, isn't he the plant? He likes plants. I'm pretty sure he likes plants. I'm pretty sure he hangs out around the biology, around the greenhouse area because he likes plants. So maybe I can make him happy by giving him something. I found a cool thing that you might think is cool. I don't think anyone else here is going to think it's cool. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. At the very least, so this is like me, like my game brain is like, I think this might be the correct object to give to this child. But my role-playing character moment is, you are really, really sad. And I can't really do anything to make you not sad, so I'm going to give you a present. To show you that I care. You may or may not like it, but I'm going to give it to you. Okay. Neat, Cal exclaims, taking your gift and peering at it inquisitively. I don't know what I'll do with it, but I love it. Thank you. Okay, so this is not a special thing, because it's just your gift, I think, generic gift thing. Although I did get more friendship with Cal. Done. I suppose I could have tried to give points to Dis, because I'm trying to make friends with Dis. Or I should be trying to make friends with Dis, but Cal is sad. Oh, you found me. Dis is adjusting better than you'd expected to life on the surface. He's already found new places to hide and do whatever he does out here by himself. Okay, I don't have anything for him. I'm not anywhere near brave enough to dare him to eat a worm, becoming a carnivore. Does that mean that we don't eat animals normally? So that is, I guess that might make sense, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Let's go talk to Bratty McBratpants. I'm sorry. She's so pretty. But Mars. She's nothing new to say. So let's report back to Tange. See how this goes. Ah. Okay, it looks like I might have to pick a thing to do. Did you talk to Dad already? I don't have any points in animals. Alright. And Mom is just gonna answer questions about stuff. Because these are gonna be the same answers that I've had before. Yeah, okay. So I don't think there's anything else new to do out here. And I don't think there's anything else to find. Oh, this looks like this could be a problem. Well, I don't think I need to rest. My happy face is relatively okay. I mean, there are entire cultures that are vegetarians, so there's nothing unbelievable about kids not having had meat for 10 years of their lives. I don't know if there's anything else I can do here. I can't go out here. I don't have any bravery or toughness, so we're not going to do this. I'm so sorry, Uncle Tonin. Alright, so I can do some more school. That's really what I've got, I think. Well, and I also just feel that, like... No, not that. No, I'm not going to play sports ball. I wanted to see what my reasoning points were. No? No. Ah, okay. Okay, so my reasoning is over 20. My engineering is almost 20. I want my empathy and my creativity to go up, so I think I'm gonna do more humanities. I'm gonna try to dual class between humanities and science. You really should not do science without humanities, and you probably should have some science to do humanities. I am a humanities person, but obviously I like science. All right. I think this is everything. I don't think there's anything else I was going to do. Yeah, I'm gonna work on humanities. Yeah, we'll do this because I did engineering last time, so we're gonna do humanities. See how this is. Creativity and persuasion, because I have like, wait, congruence. What is that? I feel like something went. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to study humanities. I'm going to do this. Because we're kind of to some degree. Oh, congruence. Oh, I see. Okay, I got it. I can't talk to her, but I can mouse over her. Got it. No, it's okay for now, Chrono. We'll see if I can figure things out on my own. But I'm going to study humanities this month. Oh. Maybe I should have studied engineering. There's some sort of emergence, especially because you want to have it over 20. It seems like 20 is the cutoff for a lot of things. Oh, but we're going to get lore, so there's that. There's some sort of emergency in engineering that requires Hal's attention, so today's class will be taught by the ship's artificial intelligence Congruence. Good morning, Congruence chirps. Today we're going to talk about the formation of the Vertumna Group and our decision to leave Earth. It's a very exciting topic, and we think you're finally ready to hear about it. Let's dig in. I'm very excited to hear about this because I actually have a story about like a space colony. And I had been working on a series of like short bits that were kind of like the backstory of the colony. And the novel itself is like several generations into the colony. But I wanted to write the making of the colony so that I could better write the colony itself, because that's how I go. So I'm very curious to see how theirs compares to mine. Because it obviously won't be like the same, but I might be like, oh, that's neat. Mine was a cryogenic ship rather than a generational ship, or a shorter. This is a short-term generational trip, if that makes sense. So we are the next generation. Instead of there being like a whole bunch of generations, it's just one more generation. But still, let's learn about the backstory. We'll get a lore dump. I'm interested. You know how it started. Economic and environmental instability, coupled with deeply entrenched hatreds, had thrown the Earth into chaos. Sounds plausible. And you know how it ended. In that chaos, your parents formed the Vertumna Group with a plan to leave Earth. 20 years later, they and their star-born children, you, slid through a wormhole and ended up here on a planet you called Vertumna. But there's so much you don't know. Man. So I assume that the your parents and the you here are both plural, which we do not have natively in English except in certain dialects. So Congruence pulls up a hollow projection of an unassuming human with a firm maternal gaze. This is planktonic ascendants Wang Botha Schmidt, she says, the spiritual leader of the Vertumna movement. They were what people called a speculative fiction writer. The Vertumna project proved that their writing, though speculative, was far from fiction. So they've taken a work of spec fic. So science fiction and fantasy fall under spec fic. Yeah, science fiction author. And somehow that became the spiritual inspiration if they were not directly affiliated. We'll see. Let's see. So I can either say, wait, a sci-fi author, or that is one long-ass name. I'm obviously not going to pick that because I'm very serious. So we're going to go with, wait, a sci-fi author? Yes, Congruence tells you. Their best-selling novel, Life Beyond the Einstein-Rosen Bridge, told the story of a fictional utopia on the other side of the real-life anomaly at the edge of the solar system. Scientists had been investigating the wormhole for years, but it took a poet to imagine we could travel through it. Congruence is happy to be telling me this. Okay. Wang Botha-Schmidt's writing centered around the idea of humanity building a technological utopia on another world. Translated to 100 languages, this was a compelling idea to people at the time, so fans started connecting in virtual space. Far from just a book club, these people bonded over mutual aid amid the increasing unrest in their own countries. They were committed to Wang Botha-Schmidt's idea of a future where everyone is treated equally without prejudice. Folks, our fully automated space communism is emerging canonically from fandom, from a fandom space. They have intentionally situated this in a fandom space. That's what they're saying right here. That is such an interesting decision. It's very much, we are writing about our people and what motivates and inspires us and how we have become our best selves and are envisioning a better world based on our fandom spaces as well. It's interesting because when they say spiritual leader, though, that implies more than just the relationship that most of us have to even the fandoms that are most important to us. Or works of art that are most important to us, if we don't want to talk about the communities around them, but the works themselves. Like, I wouldn't describe the Neverending Story as part of my spiritual practice, but it was deeply personally inspiring. The movie was in theaters for its 40th anniversary this weekend, so I went to see it with some friends on Sunday, and it was a delight, and I cried during the Swamps of Sadness. Doesn't matter that I've literally seen the movie hundreds of times, and I'm not exaggerating. I used to watch it like every day after school during the worst year of my life in high school. That's a lot. That's a lot of watching the Neverending Story, but I still cry. But even the things like the Chronicles of Prydain, which I read as a child, definitely they shaped my moral compass and who I've grown up to be. But I wouldn't say that Mr. Lloyd Alexander is a spiritual leader in my life, you know? So it's a very interesting relationship because this is fandom that they're describing. So how do you get from fandom to faith? That's interesting. Because this doesn't sound like, this sounds like they're taking inspiration from it. For me personally, if I think about a writer that that could fit into what they're describing, the obvious and for me only choice offhand is Ursula K. Le Guin. There are other choices out there, but Le Guin does have some utopian and dystopian stories. She has basically everything. Oh wait, are Octavia Butler's followers like are those who love her, do they take it to the level of almost a spiritual thing? And this is not to I hope it is clear this is asked fully out of curiosity and not out of judgment. It's mostly just that I have not seen people taking the speculative fiction that inspires them in a spiritual direction much. How very interesting. I didn't, okay. Well, in that case, my mind, of course, goes to Le Guin, who who I think is a good fit for this sort of thing. Octavia Butler as well. I can see. I do need to read more of her. I've only read some of her books, and she has quite a few. But yeah, so somewhere in between those two, perhaps. If you were going to take science fiction writers and make a faith out of them, or make them your spiritual guidance, you could do worse. You could definitely do worse. What I find so fascinating and what gives me hope for myself about Le Guin is that she was a white woman living in, like, writing in the 60s and 70s, and she still managed to be as clear-sighted and progressive and sharp and critical of society and inclusive of diverse peoples as she was. That's pretty cool. Good job, Ursula K. Le Guin. May we all achieve a fraction of what you have done in your life in some capacity when it comes to being open-minded people trying to make the world a better place. So, anyway, I like science fiction and fantasy quite a bit. I know this is shocking news to everybody. I have been reading a lot of books again this year, not as many as I read last year. Last year I did actually manage to hit, I think, 53. This year I think I'm only at 19 so far, but I can keep going. People sometimes don't realize that I like science fiction. People aren't surprised that I like fantasy, but when they're like, wait, you like science fiction? And I'm like, you realize that my master's thesis was a science fiction novel, right? Obviously, there's no way for you to know that, but it is funny to me sometimes what people... The version of me that lives in people's heads. There's a lot of people out there who I think... There are people who have either known me as Lauren the Flute especially, and also some people who've known me outside of that, who would expect me to be Becky Chambers when it comes to what I write. Apparently. That's so funny to me. If you have ever read my fiction, you can attest that I am not. I do not write cozy. I do not read cozy generally. Or if I do read it, I'm like, I bet I have friends. Basically, I read a cozy book and I'm like, hey, Chrono, go read this book. There are a number of books I read last year that I was like, man, I cannot stand this book. And then I sent it to a bunch of my friends who I knew would love it. No, science fiction and fantasy do not encompass mystery, political drama, and comedy. Popular fiction encompasses a lot of that, but fantasy falls under the science fiction umbrella, and horror and other things do as well. Science fiction can be retermed as speculative fiction as an umbrella term, but it does not include all of those other genres by default. You can have things that overlap. You can have a political science fiction book. You can have a comedic science fiction book, but comedy is not science fiction. And politics, mystery, romance, westerns, all of those are not speculative fiction. Those are not science fiction. Source, I have an advanced graduate degree in writing science fiction and fantasy. A lot of these terms are kind of like the distinction between fantasy and science fiction is, as with most taxonomies, as we were just discussing earlier. Look, it's relevant to the game, okay? Science is relevant to the game, and they're talking about science fiction fandom. No, but taxonomies are by default. There's a certain degree of I know it when I see it. And so there's things that we are sure, we can all agree that this is science fiction, and there are things that we can all agree this is fantasy. But there's a lot of things that kind of are in the middle. And when we talk about speculative fiction, that is a much larger umbrella. So it's interesting, for example, if you're looking for places, because the distinction of genres really serve two purposes that are kind of the same purpose but different perspectives. The purpose of having a genre or a subgenre is so you know what you're getting into. That's the value of it. So it's either knowing that this is a thing that you're going to like, or for marketing purposes, being able to tell people this is a thing they're going to like. That is the value of these distinctions. Otherwise, they don't really... People get snooty about like science fiction is scientific and therefore it is of like superior artistic value or whatever. That's garbage. uh, Things can have artistic value even if they're just popcorn entertainment. And any genre can have things of like, what's the word I'm looking for? What's a good word for this? Any genre can ask big questions and think big thoughts. But yeah, so Star Wars is science fantasy. Is it science fiction? Is it fantasy? They've got space wizards doing magic with swords, but then they've also got spaceships and guns. Oh no, what is it? Doesn't matter. You can define it however you like. It tends to get placed under science fiction because spaceships, I think. Also because they kind of go sciencey with their space wizards. But no, it is really interesting. And there are things that you can really, really clearly say. Like Charles DeLint's short stories are fantasy. Tolkien is fantasy. These things are fantasy. Asimov is science fiction. Le Guin writes both and blurs both sometimes. Amazing. She's fantastic. She wrote everything, though. Yes, I would say hard fantasy is Brandon Sanderson. And I would stick to that because the system and the description of the system and how it works is as fundamental to the books as anything else, if not more so. Just as the science behind why our spaceships work the way that they do is important to hard sci-fi. This is my field. I'm actually qualified. I've had so many thoughts and lectures and questions and discussions and stuff on this subject right here. I am shockingly not a hard science fiction or hard fantasy writer. So I leave Brandon Sanderson to his many fans. He is not for me. But he seems like a delight. And I am always amused by, oh no, I wrote another book. It's very funny. It's very funny. When it comes to my writing, I have an easier time submitting to fantasy magazines than science fiction publications, but when it comes to longer stories, I write both. But I really like things that are less about how they work. I don't like to know how things work. That takes away the magic of it for me and is not what I care about. I like to try to piece together puzzles, but that's less interesting to me in books and stories. All right, we have gone somewhat far afield, but that's going to happen. This game has brought out the chattiness in me, but what game doesn't? I actually got through Ghost Trick at a reasonable pace. I want you to know. I think I get credit for that. Only that one is the only game that I've ever completed in a reasonable time frame. All right. Yes, Wang Botha Schmidt. But they realized it couldn't be done online, Congruence tells you. Though committed to social justice, the group saw the impossibility of forming a truly egalitarian society while also reckoning with their own implicit biases and the diverse contexts of their real lives. They realized that this was the work of generations and solutions must look to the future as Wang Botha Schmidt did. That sure has a lot of academic terms in it. This is not how normal people talk, but this is how people discussing theory talk. So that is appropriate for the context. So I can either say, okay, I've heard enough, time for a nap, or so they got together. Obviously, there's only one answer here. But in a way, It's like the devs, the writers, are like, take the ideas that inspire you that seem impossible and realize that approaching those ideas is the work of lifetimes, but it is still worth doing. So take the works of art that inspire you and the stories from voices who tell you another way to be, and start working towards them. Don't just give up and say it's impossible. It would take too long. Don't just say, that's an idealistic utopia. That's pointless. That's impossible. That's unrealistic. Put it away. Instead, say, how could we realistically work in the direction of this? How could we put ourselves on a path heading closer to this? It's a good thing to take to heart. And it's interesting to put this in contrast to Disco Elysium, which is a very cynical story told by very cynical people who still have hope that things could get better. But they are somewhat convinced that their own hope for the future is foolish, even if that doesn't eliminate it. Does that make sense? These people have a different opinion. And that kind of makes me wonder where these people come from and what their involvement is. We know that the people who wrote Disco Elysium, clearly they had been involved in political movements when they were younger and gotten kind of burned by that, even though they still share leanings. They are no longer convinced that that is the easy path to, or not necessarily the easy path, but the clear path to success and a better life for everyone. I wonder with these people, like talking about mutual aid and working together and sharing fandom, like you kind of get an impression of like the spaces that these people call home online. So let's see what they do when the fictional world that they have created, when the people here decide to come into real life. So they got together. The image of a squat concrete building with a rooftop garden replaces Wang Botha Schmidt. Botha? That is not a last name I'm familiar with. Wang and Schmidt I am. But I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation for that, if that's a long or a short O or something altogether different. Around the edges of the classroom, the hollow projector gives the impression of towering walls topped with razor wire. The first Vertumna colony, Congruence tells you. Oh my god! Oh. That's funny. 400 people volunteered to sacrifice their own cultural beliefs to walk through these doors, agreeing to come up with a new way of life that would be taught to their children. Babies were conceived from egg and sperm donors chosen by lottery and raised communally like you as the second generation of the Vertumnal Group. That is incredible. Wow. This is absolutely something that I could see a cult deciding to do. They wouldn't, of course, call themselves a cult. They would call themselves, there's a word for it. They're really big in the 60s. There's a word and I'm blanking. Commune. Yes, a commune. This is absolutely something that some weird hippie commune might decide to do. Thank you. I knew it was like a really common word, but my brain blanked. So yeah. How interesting. Doing an experiment on yourselves and on your children is a choice. I'm not sure that it's one that I would be able to get behind, although as an action taken by a group of people in a work of science fiction, it's very plausible and very interesting. And yeah, no, I did not anticipate that this was going to be a commune. So part of what I'm curious about here, and we may or may not be able to figure this out, depending on what the creators of this game want us to get out of it, and depending on how aware they are of themselves. Um, I'm curious whether I'm curious what we are supposed to think or expected to think of this experimental commune, this somewhat extreme experimental commune. Um, because there are absolutely harmful things in pretty much every culture that's been around for a long period of time, and even some that haven't been around for so long. Humans are flawed creatures. People with power set things up in such a way as to give themselves more power, etc., etc. So all of this comes together that there is no human culture that is without harmful aspects. So I'm not saying that cultures are inherently necessary and flawless and everything. But there is a need for culture. And if you don't have culture, there's a void of some sort, which is part of why you have such. I'm putting my controller down. I'm accepting the reality of what's happening, and I suggest you do the same. Like I feel like we're. Oh, the music. Why is the music off? No, we need the music on. Okay, fine. Hold on. Okay. Oh, I clicked on congruence. Well, that's good to know. I guess maybe I should use the mouse and stuff. Anyway, we're gonna have a little chat right here because I guess this game is fine. It's fine. Um, no, I think one of the reasons why there's so much cultural appropriation, from people specifically in, for example, the U.S., primarily white folks in the U.S., is that their claim to culture and cultures has kind of been removed, like surgically removed and made off limits for a number of reasons. And for a lot of people, that leaves a bit of a hole. And there's other ways to fill culture besides like the people that you were born and raised with, you know. The culture that becomes your culture and fills the hole of culture in your life doesn't have to be your inheritance from like blood relatives, although it can, but also it can be like, I've seen, for example, straight people express jealousy over like the queer community for having this strong sense of community and a strong sense of culture, that we have this bond. And I am somebody who's come to this relatively quite late in life, and so a lot of like queer culture hasn't necessarily been my culture, but it's becoming my culture. And it's very interesting to be like, let me see if I can find my place in this queer culture. And like there's music and movies and things. Yes, there's norms, there's manners of speaking, there's ways that we interact with each other, and also this feeling that of togetherness, that I've got your back. We have this thing in common. We are an in-group together, and that's really helpful and valuable, like for people. There's a lot of other ways, like nerds, geeks, people who have an identity in fandom, that can be the culture that they share. So they have shared vocabulary, shared cultural touchstones, shared social expectations of each other and themselves. And again, that feeling of an in-group, of belonging, of I will take care of these people, or I can trust these people. I am safe with these people and they are safe with me because we have this shared community. So like, for example, I signed up and I enrolled in fencing. But I specifically picked a very nerdy and what seems like a queer fencing group, and I was correct. And so it feels comfortable, even though I'm doing a thing that's hard and scary and new to me. I'm like, but my community, like these are my community members. I can trust them. We have something in common. And then of course there is inherited culture through our ancestors near and far. Um, and that is valuable to a lot of people. And I think there's a way to do it that's problematic, but I think to a large degree there is something kind of powerful. If it works for you, obviously this isn't true for everyone, but there is something kind of powerful about being like, there's a long line of people related to me who did the same thing that I'm doing. Here are the ways in which what is important to me is also important to my people. I have my people, and we share food, we share a sense of humor, we share a method of storytelling. We have these shared touchstones, these shared ways of being. And that's super, super valuable and super important. Because I really don't think that anyone out there actually benefits from having a void where culture, meaning community, goes. There are people who reject the culture that they were raised in, and that is perfectly valid, but I think generally speaking they're better off if they find then something else to put there, which sometimes takes the form of cultural appropriation, which is not great. It's generally better to find something you have an actual genuine claim to and find a place that you can become one of the people there. But this is a thing I've thought a lot about because I'm somebody who grew up kind of on the outside of some cultures, and I've been working to reclaim my place with various cultures that I'm part of. And I've thought a lot about this and why people are the way they are. And like I live with somebody, like my roommate is from she has immigrated from a country that has a culture of its own. And so the lack of cultural identity among a lot of white Americans and Canadians was confusing. And I've spoken to a lot of Europeans who get confused by this. And if you're watching this from another country that has a solid identity, maybe this is something that has confused you too. It's very interesting. And it's not something I'd really thought about for a while, but once I started thinking about it, I just can't stop. But okay, so let's say you are like, I'm going to reject the culture that I was born into, and maybe the multiple layers of cultures that I was born into, because they have outdated, outdated opinions, or traditions that are based on things that I don't believe are correct, or morally justifiable. So you say, I want to start a clean slate. I have a little story that I will tell. It is a secondhand story, and I will keep it general because it is not my story to tell in detail. I have a friend who is a second-generation pagan. Her parents were raised Christian, and most of the pagans in their community were raised Christian, Catholic, Protestant, what have you. And these people rejected the faith and the culture as much as they could of what they were raised with. And they said, this is harmful. This is so harmful. We will have nothing to do with it. We are following our own beliefs that we've put together and found what matters to us. And we're going to create a new culture. And we are going to avoid the mistakes that our parents made in raising us. We are going to avoid the inherent problems in the culture that we grew up in. Now, this is a nice thought. And these are people who think very hard. They have considered their traumas. They have considered the culture that they were raised in. They have thought, what do we want our future to look like? And my friend who was raised in this community was harmed rather profoundly by the culture, a culture that rejected the sex negativity of so much of conservative Christianity in the U.S. They chose to embrace sex positivity, but the way in which they did so emphasized the importance of human sexuality as a part of everyone's nature. That's just part of being a person, which is very othering to people who are asexual, and also puts a lot of pressure on younger people to feel like they need to be sexual even if they don't want to be, and leads people to say, well, you should go ahead and have sex with me because sexuality is good. Why would you ever say no? And that's just one example. There's other ways in which people can reject the harm of the community in which they were raised and instead perpetuate an entirely new flavor of harm. Sometimes, like in this case, because there's a pendulum swinging too far in the other direction. Sometimes because, people are people, there's going to be an imperfection introduced into the thing that you're making by virtue of people being part of it. I found that fascinating because you have people saying we're going to do better. And they didn't necessarily do better, they did different. And that is an actual practical application. And if you look at some of these hippie communes that were doing things like this, a lot of them were very idealistic and had these ideas of how things would play out that sounded fantastic on paper. And their hearts were in the right place. But when it actually comes down to it, the practicality, the practice differs greatly. And the end result is very different. So I'm very, very curious whether the people who made this game are showing this is a way that idealism can come to fruition and become reality, or if they are saying this is how people who can mean the best can still screw it up. So I'm really curious to see. Anyway, I hope you don't mind this. It is a tangent, but it's related. It's relevant. We'll see where they're going with it. I need to set up my buttons. Yeah, and so Lentil Llama here is sharing an alternate story of parents who had been raised in an alcoholic abusive household and then became deeply conservative Christian themselves as a reaction to that, to give themselves order when they had grown up with chaos, I imagine. And finding safety and stability and security there. But then they've created a new set, perhaps, of problems because there are reasons why conservative Christianity, like why many people will talk about having been harmed by growing up in that environment. So it's like, it's difficult, man. Being a parent seems really hard because it's really like you don't get stats, you don't get to save or load your game, you just get to do your best and hope it's enough. So that's one of the reasons why I'm never gonna do it. So let's switch back to the game, shall we? And I need to get my Stream Deck working again so that I can just press a button and it won't change the sound. But yeah, so there's that. I'm interested in that. I'm sorry, I've been tangenting more this stream than I meant to, but they're giving me a lot. Okay, so they got together. Those babies were your parents. So I can either say, wait, was it some kind of cult? Or so they mixed their DNA? Or so they mixed their cultures? I am least interested in the mixing of their DNA. Well, thank you all for listening and for indulging me in this. In case anyone is watching this and has never watched me before, that happens a lot. There's a reason why I have a screen in OBS for that. I think it's a pretty relevant pretty relevant conversation, but we'll see because I'm really curious. So far, the writers of this game have seemed to have a large degree of awareness about humanity that indicates to me that they probably have a lot of self-awareness, which means that this is probably not going to be, and then we made a utopia and everything was great and it actually worked out the way we intended. Even if we might dream of that, and even if we may be positioning ourselves as people in our real world to be like, how can we take inspiration from the inspiring works of fiction that mean so much to us and try to move towards a brighter future? I don't know. We'll see. I suspect that I have definitely experienced stories where I'm like, this author hasn't thought through this. There was one particular cozy work of cozy science fiction that I read last year where I was like, you are one of the least self-aware people I've ever met, but you're writing something that's supposed to be a self-indulgent cozy fun time. So I will just recommend this book to friends and never read anything by you ever again. where it was like, look at how utopian our society is, in a way that felt like there was not a lot of self-challenging. And I think I cannot get away from self-challenging. I question everything. I People are like, if you could get people to be completely honest with you about your flaws so that you could work on them, would you? And I was like, no, because I am constantly tormenting myself about my flaws. Like, I don't need to be told what they are. There's probably a few that I don't know, but a lot of them I'm very aware of. That's one thing I do. I second guess everything. So, and thank you for the subscription, Lentil. All right. So, I'm going to either pick one or three. I kind of want to ask one and see where congruence goes with it. See if she has a sense of humor and self-awareness about it, or... Because it says, here's her description: the ship's artificial intelligence, a vastly powerful computer system which runs everything from life support to the HoloNet archives. She has a sense of humor too. She, her. I bet something can go wrong with that. That, I'm sure, will never be a problem. That she is where we get our history from, which can be changed, corrupted, or deleted. She handles our life support. I'm sure that won't be a problem on this planet. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask. I'm not gonna pick the feel-goody answer of so they mix their cultures. I want to know about this, but I'm gonna say, wait, was it some kind of cult? Because that's what it sounds like. Yes, congruence tells you cheerily. The Vertumna Group was widely considered to be a non-religious cult. Membership was outlawed in some countries. Okay, then. Planktonic ascendants Wang Botha Schmidt was later assassinated for their connection to the group. Okay, so they were alive when this happened. And the ensuing violence affected many lives. You think of your mother and her prosthetic leg and how she rarely talked about her life on Earth. Okay, well, I'm glad that I asked that, because I'm glad that there's this honesty here. Because I wasn't sure whether planktonic ascendants. Oh, that's their name, not their title. I assumed that was their title as a religious spiritual figure, but no, that's their first and middle name. So that's why, instead of having names that come from particular cultures on Earth, they are named for objects and ideas and things like that. So I would imagine that the people who chose to give up their cultures took another name that was appropriate to what they were doing here. I've seen things kind of like that in other works of fiction, so maybe that is why I saw this. I like the way that they're handling. They have not drawn attention to the mother's prosthetic leg. Like they've mentioned enough that we can piece together. Oh, she has a prosthetic leg. But it's not like It's not like, oh gosh, you know, my mother, she has a prosthetic leg, but she doesn't let that stop her. A conlang would make sense for them to speak. So that seems like a valid choice. Maybe Whooper, maybe they'll even go into that. And we are just reading it in English or whatever language it may have been localized to for convenience's sake. But I like that the mother's leg is part of her story that just gets mentioned along with anything else in her history or her body. That's nicely done. So our parents would have been children in this group. And then there was violence. So you were not allowed to join this cult. And then the writer, I cannot, I'm sorry, the thing that I'm having the hardest time wrapping my head around here is that the author of the fiction that inspired them was actually part of, like, was connected to this group. Like, I cannot imagine being comfortable with that, but I guess I'm not everyone. Um, like, several hundred people are going to conduct an experiment on themselves and their children in my name to try to live out the ideals of my speculative work. Just feels uncomfortable. Now, it could be that they wrote the book and they just wrote the book, and so their connection to the group just means that they inspired the group, but they're not actively connected to the group. But given that they have names that sound like the way these people are naming themselves, to me that sounds like they perhaps were actually part of this group. I don't think it's meant to parallel Scientology, but I imagine that maybe they thought of that as they, but that was different because he was consciously trying to set something up, and I don't get the vibe that this person was, but we'll see. I don't know. Okay. The hollow projection now shows the compound under siege. As more colonies were founded, word got out about the Vertumna Group's social experiments. Congruous continues. Assimilationism was an unpopular ideology at the time because it had been used to commit terrible genocides on Earth. This, combined with panic that the Vertumna Group was destroying the family unit or raising an army of gene-tech super soldiers, brought the colony under attack from all sides. So I assume that they're talking about colonies on Earth as opposed to colonies in space at this point. Assimilationism, meaning expecting people to give up their culture to take part in another culture, which is true. That has been a method of destroying cultures. There are languages that have been almost lost because the people who spoke them were forced to stop speaking them and forbidden from teaching them to their children, and cultures and faiths that the people were cut off from, and people have been working to try to reclaim them. In some cases as violently as what has happened to like Indigenous, Indian, First Nations people. But also things such as like more subtle, less violent ways, such as immigrants moving to the US and saying we will not teach our language or our culture to our children so that they can better integrate into this new country and have a chance at a better future. And then maybe their children's children are like in a safer place now that is no longer necessary for safety, and kind of wish that they had a connection to that culture, that is their birthright to have. And so I've known people from a variety of cultures that have had that experience and that are maybe working to reclaim that. So it's interesting. And some of these languages did not die out entirely. But I'm actually, what's it called? I'm actually reading a book right now. So I'm pulling up my Libby app so I can get the title and the author right. I'm reading A Snake Falls to Earth by Darcy Little Badger, which has characters. One of the plot threads we're seeing so far has been trying to figure out how people are going to piece together a story that was told in a language that an old grandmother spoke and nobody else really knows, because that happened, unfortunately. I'm enjoying it so far. And part of what's interesting about reading it is that it is written following the storytelling traditions of a culture that is not my own, but that I have studied just enough to be like, I recognize these storytelling traditions that are not quite the same as mine. And that there's something very enjoyable about that. I strongly encourage you to read books by a diverse range of people, especially those who write about or inspired by cultures that are not yours, from a place of knowledge and understanding of that culture, rather than being spectators on the outside. Yeah, cool stuff. All right. So my options here. I'm sorry. I feel like I should be engaging more with this story that I'm reading for itself instead of picking apart what the creators of this game are doing and how this relates to real world things. But I'm just so interested in those things that that's what we're doing. Okay, so I can either say, but cultural assimilation is horrible, or everyone fears what they don't understand. Both of these. Okay, so something that I like about this, actually, so we had a couple of options that in previous responses, we had a couple of snooze fest, I don't care. But we do not have an option here to say, well, it's a good thing that they didn't trust this cult. Because we, the players, were not raised in an environment in which any of this is the norm. But for our character is a literal child, and we are talking about her parents and their experiences and their generations. So she's not going to jump to the same sort of, like, if this were a different character in a different way, we might have the, like, cynical, insulting answer. But instead we have two ways of defending our grandparents, essentially. So I can say, but cultural assimilation is horrible, or everyone fears what they don't understand. It's interesting how one of these has quotes and one of these doesn't. I wonder if that does indicate that one of these is something I say out loud and one of these is a thought I keep to myself. Although I guess cultural assimilation is horrible isn't a defense of the cult, actually. I think I was misthinking. No. The cult is being considered assimilation because everybody's giving up their culture to come together. So this could be interesting. Actually, no, this is a way of challenging what they're doing, but from the perspective of somebody with progressive values, which presumably my character would have picked up somewhere. Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this, but cultural assimilation is horrible. Let's see what you have to say about this. See how we defend this or not, since we didn't defend it from being called a cult when I first asked that. In leaving behind inherited traditions, rules, and resentments, the hope is that humanity may be wiped clean of centuries of intergenerational trauma. Congruence sounds like she's reciting doctrine. Even the first generation of the Vertumna Group wasn't certain it was possible. You're the beginning of the new beginning. Who knows what you'll be capable of? You get the feeling you're not going to get a nuanced answer from the ship's AI. This is exactly what I was hoping we would get. I am very satisfied with this. This is exactly what I wanted. Good job, writers. I said I thought that they were probably going to be critical and self-aware. They are. They have very, very clearly been shown to be. This is very clearly drawing a distinction. This is the thing that I've noticed, that I think that the younger generation who have had their educational system completely gutted have been kind of in a disadvantage in this, which is learning to see the difference between what characters are saying and authorial intent. That not every character is saying what the author believes, but also something doesn't always draw attention to that disconnect. You're supposed to be able to see it yourself. And I've seen some people be very uncomfortable with that, which is why they're like, you should only write about bad people if the thing says they're bad. Like, you shouldn't have good people who do bad things sometimes. I'm like, you have to work on building a tolerance for that discomfort and being able to see what is the author actually saying, and what do you think about that critically in a nuanced and complicated way. I've been spending time on Tumblr, how can you tell? The reading comprehension site. Whew. But okay, so I like this. So we're already developing a sense of distrust of the AI and of our origins. Like, Like, she's not being critical of it. I thought she might be when she's like, well, people did say it was a cult. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe she's going to be like, it's not perfect, but it's what we're doing. But no, that is not where this is going. But there's now been some distance placed between that and me and my character. And I like that. So. The image of the burning compound is replaced with the stratospheric on a launch pad. Luckily, the next phase of the Vertumna project was ready to launch. 100 colonists were selected to leave Earth on a colony ship to seed a far-flung corner of the universe with a new human culture. Oh, man. 100 colonists is not nearly enough genetic diversity. Maybe they've taken that into consideration. I'm trying to remember because I know this. I know this from when I was doing research for my own science fictional novel. One of the questions that I asked was, how many people do I have to have in this colony in order for it to be self-sustaining? Like, what is the bare minimum number of people you have to have for enough sufficient genetic diversity to be able to like get up and running and actually like have a colony that lives generations? I think the number that I saw was 10,000. I'm pretty sure 10,000 was the number that I had. I'd have to go back and look at the story because I'm pretty sure that the story that I wrote about that was after I had done that research. So 100 is not nearly enough. So hopefully they've done something about that, because it's only a matter of time otherwise before we're all cousins interbreeding with cousins, and that can easily lead to some issues. They might have space technology, that's fine. And if they have no cultural taboo against it, and they have space technology to prevent it from being an issue, then it's fine. Weirds me out, but that's fine. I'm from a culture in which that seems weird. And also, we can see what happens if we look at people that had a lot of inbreeding. It can be concerning. So yeah, so they may have plans to account for that. We'll see. But even so, 100 is really, really small. Like, that's very easy to be destroyed. Like if a sickness gets into your colony and you lose 10 people, that's literally a tenth of your population. I'm just concerned, okay? I do like that it is more people, and obviously we have, with the children, that means that we've got probably like 150 people now, or more. Not everybody seems to have siblings, but I do like that, like, they're establishing that there are more people in this colony than just the small handful that we get to know. She smiles. The ultimate goal of the Vertumna Group was you, children, she says. A generation raised completely unburdened by troubles that plagued Earth. Isn't that lovely? And therefore we will raise our children in some degree of ignorance. They are going to be very careful about what information they share with us, including information that might potentially be able to save our lives. This is why you don't do experiments on people. By the way, you don't do this. You should not do a scientific experiment on your children. It is morally questionable at best. Yes, nothing could possibly go wrong here. I suspect that this game is fully aware of that, and I'm very curious to see where this goes, especially because we see that things do go badly. Yes, did the zygotes sign informed consent forms? Haha. Alright, so I can say, but how did they build the ship? Or, what was Earth like when they left? Or, so nobody on Earth was like us? Or, so much information. I'm going to see if I can ask all these questions. Either way, well, let's see. I'm going to ask the troublemaker question first, and then if the rest don't go away, then I'll ask the others. Okay. What was Earth like when they left? Terrible. Congruence shows you some dire demographics. The institutions that had given people the illusion of safety were torn down, and wars were rampant, both resource-based and ideological. Large parts of the earth were rendered uninhabitable by climate change, pollution, and nuclear war, especially the critical food-growing regions of the world. The Vertumna Group weren't the only ones trying to escape Earth, but as far as we know, we are the only success. So, like, this is plausible. This is believable. There's also something to be said for up and leaving to do your experiments instead of trying to save back home. That's one of the conflicts, isn't it? And also, I cannot trust that I'm going to ever be given the full truth here because I am being experimented on. You know? It's very interesting. What a conflict in the backstory of this world. This is fascinating to me. Sorry, I'm very interested in that stuff. Also, wouldn't it be interesting if we see this recreated, if history repeats itself here on our experimental utopia? If in fact we have problems with the illusion of safety going away, because the adults are not telling me, like something's wrong with the food supply, and my parents are not telling me. So clearly there's an issue going on. There could be both resource-based infighting and ideological infighting. We could decide that we are very angry about being experimented on and that we want to have the full truth, and we pull away from the adults. It could be that the adults have a breakdown on how to handle situation and they split into different groups. It could be that there's a shortage of food and we break into smaller groups and try to protect ours, even if that means somebody else doesn't get enough. And it's possible that we could screw up the planet that we're on, and our colony and our fighting, and make it so that we can't survive. All of these things could befall us here. Quite an experiment. It will be fascinating to see the results. Oh good, I get to ask these questions. I'm glad. But how did they build the ship? Orbital voyages were a hobby for the ultra-rich in an earlier century, so there were several relics to be found in museums, Congruence replies. The difficulty was not in acquiring a ship, but in making it space-worthy and in the logistics of the launch itself. The group crowdsourced enough funding to purchase and repair the ship, Congruence smiles. As for logistics, well, you are speaking to the solution right now. I was acquired by connected group members, along with the gene tech that created you and your parents. Oh, that is some word choice. Wow. Oh my god. This feels very carefully written and shared and everything, you know, like it feels like she is giving the talking points that she has. Okay, so this is some centuries past our century, because orbital voyages are not yet a hobby, but we can see that becoming a hobby for the ultra rich at some point. So they got a relic from a museum with money, so they did that legitimately, and then they repaired it, and then somebody in the group was connected to some sort of super technology, I suppose. And the gene tech, but okay, I'm sorry, my brain is spinning in possibilities. Not only does that introduce potential issues, because if, for example, an evil corporation was the source of both Congruence and the gene tech, we can't necessarily trust those things. I don't know. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Because that means also that the people who are here are not necessarily people who have the knowledge to make changes to or repairs to those two things. So that's great. And then we would have to trust Congruence to teach us how to repair her or the gene tech situation. And I don't know if she's a reliable source. Whew, fun. The Stratospheric was the first manned vessel to navigate the wormhole at the edge of the solar system. Given the state Earth was in when it left, it may have been the last. She's smiling as she says this, of course. Not that we feel bad about this or anything, because those people had a bad culture. So nobody on Earth was like us. The Vertumna Group members have a unique culture, Congruence replies, but it's formed from a combination of many heritages from Earth. Even the language you speak, Whooper, they thought of that. You speak Esperanto, was invented to bring people together. And don't worry, Congruence exclaims. You brought your best heritage with you. You're humans. Well done, Whooper. That makes perfect sense. That is so good that they thought of that. And also, by having it be Esperanto, prior to that, nothing we have been given is a concrete name of a place, culture, people, history, anything on Earth. So it could have been that it was like another Earth that they call Earth, but is like a made-up Earth with other cultures. But Esperanto exists on our planet, and therefore the cultures that go into their made-up culture will come from our planet, and the history that they're talking about is the future of our planet. So that's neat. All right. So much information. Your head is so stuffed with ideas it might burst. Professor Hal and your parents never mentioned this stuff before. They waited to tell you because they wanted you to grow up without feeling different based on your genetic makeup or family history. Okay. There's the Vertumna Group. Look at that. You can look at the picture. These people look fancy. They're in suits. They've got their little globe. Somebody there has either hair or a hat they're drinking. Oh, it tells you who the illustration is by. +1 for each unplayed card. Okay. Well, that's interesting. They are pondering the orb. The orb is Earth. It's hard to imagine having a different culture than your neighbors. You wonder what it's like. Everyone's celebrating different holidays, eating different food, speaking different languages. Are you missing out, or are you better without it, like the original colonists believed? It's hard to say, as the decision was made for you long before you were born. All you can do is be the best Solana you can be. Yeah, no, like, that is really interesting. Well, so, a question that people... Is it alright if I talk about some controversial type stuff here? So a lot of people who are formerly of Christian backgrounds, especially evangelical Christian backgrounds, who become atheists, take an evangelical approach to atheism, in which they wish to have everybody share their atheist viewpoint. And they will belittle people of faiths and talk about the evils that religion has done and how the world would be better off if we could get rid of it. Now, one of the issues with that, I mean, I don't think anyone could realistically argue that Christianity hasn't been behind a lot of global death and personal trauma over the years. Like it has been. But even if you personally are angry and have been traumatized by and harmed by an upbringing there, that's not the only religion. And when people make generalizations about what religion is, most of the time they are assuming that all religions are like Christianity, which frankly, even Judaism is not the same. Like, they'll be like, well, all these religions believe in hell. And I'm like, Judaism, which is technically what Christianity descended from, does not include an idea of hell. And then you get into further other faiths that are even further removed. And like, some of these are intrinsically part of people's cultural traditions that have been taken away from them by sometimes Christianity, sometimes like not a religious group. But like if you are trying to undermine faith altogether, you are also undermining culture, because faith can be an aspect of culture for marginalized groups. So if what you're saying is, I want conservative Christianity and evangelical Christianity to no longer be able to cause harm to people in the world, that is a specific statement about a specific request that has to do with a specific group of people and specific results of their actions. And in that case, like, that's an entirely separate conversation. But like, otherwise, are you going to tell, for example, people of religious, like indigenous people who have the faith, who have had the faiths of their people taken away from them, and many of them are trying to reclaim it, are you going to take that away from them and tell them that they can't have that component of their culture and their worldview, these things that are intrinsically connected? Like, Judaism and Jewishness are interconnected. Your ethnicity, your background, your culture, and your religion are all part of your identity. If you try to destroy the religious aspect, and there's a lot of atheist Jews too, they tend not to be as likely to want to abolish everyone else's religion. But like you can be an atheist and a Jew at the same time, and I'm sure there's other religious/cultural groups where that is true. We won't talk about that, Chrono. I have nothing good to say about that. But I'm saying, like you don't get to decide for yourself that other people need to step away from their cultural heritage and identity. You do not get to say that every cultural heritage and identity out there, including faith, because that is a part of cultural heritage and identity, you do not get to say that every single one out there is bad because you were harmed by your experiences. It's like, if you grew up with abusive parents, you don't get to abolish families. If you've had an abusive relationship, you don't get to abolish relationships. You should work on, like, if it is important to you to prevent people from being harmed the way you were harmed, then you should look for ways to do good in ways that you can reach and in ways that will actually do good. But otherwise, you are taking out your anger and punishing the world at large for something that a group of people did, and you are not making things better for people. So what I'm really interested in with this game is that this right here, this is them kind of saying, we know that. They're not saying abolishing culture is the right thing to do. They're saying, all right, well, we have a thought experiment. In the world of this game, that culture has been abolished. What would that do? We're going to explore that, which is one of the things that science fiction is so good for. Like, that's what science fiction is. That's what it does. Like, I mean, also, yes, it can be very exciting. Pew pew spaceship battles, very fun. But for me, science fiction at its best, it allows us to play out a scenario of what would happen if, and explore one possibility that's really interesting. So I'm really quite delighted that they are saying, basically, because you don't have this other culture, like, are you missing it? Is it a loss or not? Regardless, this is the thought experiment that we have on the table, and this is what we're going to play with. And maybe we as players are going to get to explore that and kind of posit what we think the answer is. Perhaps this game is inspired by Disco Elysium in more ways than just having lots of words and the ability to influence your character's growth. That would be interesting. That is interesting. Now, no spoilers about Disco Elysium because I have stopped at a certain point in it, but I kind of suspect that it's doing some things with that. But I wonder if this game is also doing some things with in its own ways. It's just asking different questions. This game is not asking questions about politics. This game is exploring culture, I think, which I'm very interested in culture, so I'm totally on board. All right. Get to work. I think I'm going to give up. I think I'm going to give up because I can't get a 1. All right, so these don't all have to be in order. So... stress, cry, giggling, wondering, tangents, focus. Oh, wait, no, tangents, focus has to be the highest value. Hold on, sorry. Wait, no, there's a better way to do this. I did it! I card gamed. I have had to learn to think a little differently about card game, but I did card game. And I got the big glowy golden one, which is going to give me extra points, which is good because I really, really, really want more points in the humanities. Even if I don't have a humanities build, that's what I want. Let us win. Win. Win! Win, 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 win. Victorious! You worked well this month. +1 creativity. Yes! Oh, and I got a kudos for being really good. Yes. Look at me. Look at all of my points. And I have made friends more with Tangent. Cool. I wonder what I can do to up my empathy. I want that. It's time for Vertumnalia. Udicott and the council have called a festival to celebrate life here on the planet Vertumna. Everyone gathers in the colony square to hear Governor Udicott's speech. Okay, so that's why we have these made-up festivals that feel a little made up, because they are made up. In Earth's history, Udicott begins, and then clears her throat and waits for everyone to quiet down. Ahem. In Earth's history, Vertumna was known as the god of seasons, change, gardens, and fruit. It's no coincidence that our forebears of the Vertumna Project chose to take on such an auspicious name in the hopes of seeding future bountiful seasons of humanity. We will continue this tradition of Vertumnalia, a midsummer festival to celebrate our Vertumna, this lush planet upon which we find ourselves today. I am not going to yawn, but I'm feeling the seeds of cynicism have taken root in me. But I'm going to clap. I'm going to be polite. All right. Loyalty has gone up. Interesting. If I yawned, it would have gone down. That's interesting. Everyone cheers and applauds. The members of the council all get up on stage one at a time to give their own short speeches. Governor Udicott announces each one. That's interesting. Governor Udicott command. Chief Administrator Seek command. Security Chief Rhett Garrison. Chief Engineer Instance Engineering. Chief Cultivator Flulu Geoponics. Chief Steward Antecedent Quarters. Chief Surveyor Melatonin Expeditions. When it's your mother Flulu's turn, she announces that tonight you'll be eating some of the very first crops grown from Vertumnal soil. Your eyes go to the feast table. Aboard the stratosphere, it would have been mostly soy-based food from the nanoprinters, spiced up with what precious fruits and vegetables could be grown in the small growing bays. This year, the earth plants look even less robust than usual, but they're supplemented by some Vertumnan plants you've come to appreciate. Juicy potato pods and slabs of edible fungi. Interesting. The fact that the earth plants, there seem to be fewer of those. I'm curious also, what is the long-term repercussion going to be for us eating food grown on another planet? Are they going to go there or not? Because we can breathe the air and drink the water and eat food grown in the soil. So they are making choices, or else we're using mad science. Udicott takes the stage after everyone on the council has said their piece. What is a festival without festivities? She asks. Professor Hal and Security Chief Rhett have organized a 3-part competition for the kids. Good luck, children. Which one do you join? Bot wrestling? I do not have 5 toughness. Talent show? Science fair? Or I'll just watch, or competitions are dumb. If it were simply for the joy of the thing, I would absolutely throw myself into either the talent show or the science fair. But I hate competition so much. So much. I hate it the most. I hate it more than anything. Ish. So, are we going to roleplay Solana here? Or are we going to do Lauren? This, reasoning 5, creativity 5. That's the thing is, I don't know. Are we going to play Solana or are we going to play Lauren? I guess we'll probably play Solana. I mean, it's probably a friendly competition. It's probably also so that the adults can see how we're progressing in our fields. I want to do the talent show. I need to have creativity of 5 and I have creativity of 10. I would probably be more likely to win the science fair. But would I get fewer points? Okay, Solana, what would you do? I honestly think Solana would do the science fair because she's been hanging out with Tangent. I want to do talent show. Talent show is what I would do. That's what I would pick. But I feel like if I do the talent show, Tangent won't be involved. Then again, if I do the talent show, then it won't be me versus Tangent. That would actually probably be good for my friendship with Tangent. To not beat her. Or be beaten by her. Yeah, I think I'm going to do the talent show. I have an interest in both of these things. I think it's safe to say that Solana, despite having a natural inclination towards science, I think that she would be more, I think she's drawn to the arts, but she's better at the sciences naturally. So I think I'm going to go with the talent show because this is what she wants to be. She may not do very well. She may not win. That may be a lesson that we learn here, which is that sometimes you can like a thing and not be as good at it. And then you can either keep doing it anyway or decide that you only want to do the things that you're good at. But yeah, I'm going to do the talent show and I'm going to let Tangent win the science fair. I like talent shows. I think they're great fun. We'll do that. We'll do the talent show. Oh, my loyalty went up again. I guess my loyalty could have gone down. I could take a rebellious stance. I will probably take more rebellious options in the future eventually, but okay. It's an all singing, all dancing, all talent extravaganza. The entire colony gathers to watch the show after dinner. First up, Dis plods up to the front of the stage as a pop song starts to play. He just stands there, deadpan, staring into space with his arms at his sides while the singer belts out the first verse. Then, as the chorus comes in, he suddenly springs to life, dancing and lip-syncing to the lyrics frantically, waving his arms and grinning maniacally. Then collapses back to standing still once the chorus is over. It's hilarious, but you aren't sure you're supposed to be laughing. Oh man. So the thing with Dis is that on some level I have figured out things about him, but I still don't know what to do. I can't read him at all. And they've done a really good job of being like, even if you've identified that this is a very neurodivergent kid who has a very different way of being, and you're like, I'm going to try to do the right thing to help him. No, you're not. At least not if you're me. Some of you may understand what he's needing better than I do, but... Next, Mars performs a choreographed dance routine to an old Earth song by an AI idol. Boo. She has light-emitting balls at the end of her hair, which she swings around everywhere in the dim light while controlling a small floating ball drone who dances with her. It's total overkill, but it is impressive. Your turn. What do you do? I can do a comedy routine, a magic act, or hoverbird tricks. Solana, what would you do? Comedy routine, I would not do a comedy routine, but she is not me. A magic act. Okay, all right. So Solana already has this secret, this magic secret that she has to keep from everybody. Um, because they respond really badly. I think that she's gonna do the magic act. Either because, well, she could do the magic act as a way to be like, I can't tell you that I actually have something supernatural going on with me. Um, but I can have this false supernatural thing that I do instead, and you're allowed to see this one and you'll cheer this one, and I can take some comfort from that even though you won't acknowledge the real parts of me. Or the magic act could be too close to the truth there, and the comedy routine is trying to keep everybody in the colony to trying to get everyone in the colony to like you. I don't think I have tons of points in creativity, unfortunately, but I have some. Oh, man. Sorry, I'm being indecisive. Comedy routine or a magic act? I feel like a magic act that goes badly is less humiliating than a comedy routine that goes badly. But let's see. Let's do the magic act. I want to do that. I'm gonna do this. Come on, Solana. Let's put a little bit of magic, a little bit of false magic. Creativity hard challenge. Oh my god. Story challenges have 3 rounds instead of 1. After every round, you'll keep the cards you didn't play and unlock an extra slot to play them in. Losing isn't always a bad thing in story challenges. Ah, okay. If you want to say no, I don't want to do this, you can say no, I don't want to do this. That is good. Okay. Goal is 41. Round 1 of 3, so we're gonna get this. Okay, hold on. Oh. Oh dear. Okay, hold on. So I think my best bet is gonna be to do this and this. Wait. Yeah, no, I get... So that's 13. And that's 11. Right. The magic act that goes badly could double as a comedy routine if you play it off right. Yeah, I suppose so. Oh, man. Because I'm going to want to play more cards. Well, I'm not quite sure how this works, but we're going to do this. Yeah, sure. We'll see what happens. Next round. Ah! Okay, I see. I got it. Okay. Hold on, no. So did 13 last time. Let's see what we can do here with this. Okay, so that is 8. That's not very good. Let's try... That's 9. What happens if I do... Sorry, we're going to try this. Okay, so 9 appears to be as good as it's going to get. Which was, I think, this. And this gets rid of a 0. Wait, no, that's not it. Wait, what was the 9? That's the 9. Oh, but I want to get rid of the 0. But if I hold on to a blue, do I have more blues? Is there a way to see? Yes, there's a way to see what cards I have. I don't have very many of these, whereas I have a lot more blues. So I've seen these two already. So I have fewer chances of getting a yellow in the future. And blue. Yes, Chrono, you're going to have to accept the fact that I am not a card gamer. So it's going to be, you're going to experience that moment of Lauren does not know the thing that I know. Okay, so if I leave a blue card behind, that'll be most likely to have matches in the next hand. And I think I've gotten rid of both. I think both of the ones, some of the zeros are taken. I've played Tangent's Focus with that as a 0. And I played this one. So my two highest cards are done. So I have 1 3, but I won't get any other 3s, but I could have other blues. There will be other 1s, because I haven't had first words. Okay, that's fair, Chrono. Use the outlet while you've got it. Oh man, do I want to? Yeah, I think 9 is as high as it's gonna get. I think I want to use up my pink. I think I want to use up my pink. Four, 6, 7. Because that one's 9. And that one's 8. I don't think there's anything else I can do here. So I'm looking and I'm thinking about it. But a 0... Because if I do this, then 19 is going to be what I want next time, and I don't know if I can get 19 next time. Well, let's see. Oops, sorry. Yeah, see, like that's just not, it's gonna have to be something like this. Wait, what just happened? Oh, I didn't remember that it did that. Oh, it has sequential. A straight of 3. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay, well, in that case, I guess I'm gonna keep my red and hope I get some reds. Okay, well, I was literally just flipping around trying to figure out what I could do and didn't realize that was a thing you could do. Well, now I know. So that's fun. Okay. I think that's as good as I'm going to get. So that means that I'm going to need 17 in the next round, which is going to be a lot harder. Because I already spent all of my high cards. So let's see what happens. Let's go with the next round. Yeah, and this is not a mental thing, so okay. This is not gonna be great. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna do it at all. Not even close, man. Not even close. And I feel like could have had hooked on my hollow palm. That's literally the only other one that I have that has, like, I really do need to, now I understand I need to get rid of the wonderings and the gigglings and things. Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job. I can give up, or I can... How much stress did I take? Oh, that's going to be really bad for me, though. I kind of like that story, though. Don't you kind of like the story of... Oh, that actually, no, that won't wipe me. That'll put me at 90. And then I'll have to rest next time, but that's fine. Yes, but I am a perfectionist, and I will absolutely harm myself trying to push through and do a thing that I can't really do to get it done. Failure is an option, but it's emergent storytelling. Look, I've already made a character who... Okay, hold on. Burn up for talent show. Well, okay, listen to the emergent storyteller that we have right now. We have here a character who is... She's really good at science. She's good at science. Her brain thinks like a scientist, but she wants to be a storyteller or something else. She wants to be an artist, a creator. And it's so much harder, but she really wants to do it. So for the talent show, she could do the science fair. And she tells herself, well, no, then I'll be competing with my best friend, and I don't want to do that. And she's like, no. Even though I'm really good at science, and science comes easily, I'm an artist, I'm a creator, I can do something creative. I'm going to do it. And she commits to it. She's a scientific overachiever whose reaction to one of her friends dying due to technology malfunction was to take engineering classes to make sure that never happened again. And only after she'd done that once or twice did she then rest. We are creating she is developing... There's an emerging personality here. She is somebody who I think would absolutely be like, no, I don't want to... I can't allow myself... I can't accept that this is a thing I can't do because I want to do it. And I have already fallen into the habit of pushing through things. So the only in-character choice at this point is to push through and double my stress. I'm so excited that I have an in-character justification. And just like me, where I couldn't have described my personality and had to, my identity, my sense of self, and I had to kind of look at it secondhand and be like, what do I know about my sense of self based on the things that have happened in my life and the things that I have done? We're using that same approach to figure out what Solana's personality is. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that fun and interesting? I hope we don't all die. All right. We're going to push through and get some stress. Victorious. I'm so stressed right now. But I got kudos. Look at her. She's really sad. But see, I feel like most of the games that give you the opportunity to roleplay a character, you are supposed to come with a character to play. Solana comes with some pieces of her own, and I am trying to make some sense out of that. Plus, she has relationships with characters, and because it's all text and they put the entirety of the game pretty much in the text, they are able to actually cultivate, build out relationships. It's not like BioWare. Sorry, BioWare. Will I ever not take a dig at BioWare's expense? One of these days I should try playing a BioWare game on stream. Maybe. All right, done. You are the champion. Win a Vertumnalia event. Everyone is amazed by your magic act, especially the one where you pretended to pull scarves out of your mouth. You win as voted by audience applause. I beat her. Oh, she's going to be so mad at me, but I'd rather have her be mad at me than have my friend be mad at me. Mars begrudgingly shakes your hand, leaning in to whisper that you better enjoy your victory now because she's going to destroy you next year. I have made an enemy. After the festivities are over, everyone takes time off for a much-needed break. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh. Popular, you're a winner and everyone wants to be your friend. Kudos doubled for 3 months. Wow. Crazy. Well, I'm glad to know that pushing through it did not kill me. If you stress yourself out, but hear me out. Cramming right before vacation. You do your finals. They're brutal, but you know on the other side of that you have summer vacation. It's a tried and true pattern. Just saying. Totally valid. Solana is learning the same unhealthy lessons that a lot of us internalize. After the festivities are over, everyone takes time off for a much-needed break. During the fierce heat of dust, a few days' rest is exactly what you need. You feel refreshed. Good. I will absolutely do that again at some point. Rest assured. Done. Early dust into mid dust. I also showed up the bossy one, that's right. Next month. I prefer walking around with a controller. Clicking to walk around feels weird. Oh, let's save. All right. Oh. 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 Oh, good. And you can still diagonal. Look at this. I can still dance around in a silly circle. Cool. I really like the music. Honestly, frankly, at this point, I like literally everything in this game is done well. The music is good. The art is good. The writing is good. The gameplay elements are good and interesting. Like, I'm really impressed. This game could be like half as good as it is and like half of its elements, and I would still be like, they did a good job for an indie team. But like, damn. I'm just saying. Let's talk to some people. Okay, I'll click on you. Tangent, what's up? Have you gone outside the colony yet? Tange asks you. I hear all sorts of terrible things. Regardless, we're not allowed to stray from the gates unless we're on expedition. Tange rolls her eyes. Not that it stops my brother. I don't have anything for you yet. She and her brother just want each other. They want to have a good relationship. They're just both dumb, so they're fighting me. But I'll try to figure it out. We'll see if I can do it. All right. All right. Nothing new from Anemone. Oh, Cal maybe has something for me. What's up, Cal? How can I help you? You're looking for Cal in the garden when you nearly trip over someone else. One of the younger kids, and they're blindfolded? Hey! They exclaim, ripping the blindfold off their face and throwing it to the ground. It's Cirrus, one of Anemone's brothers. He glares at you. I was almost done. Uh-oh. Cal jogs over and grabs Cirrus in a friendly headlock, ruffling his messy red hair. Dude, you were so close. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that that Cal is beginning to play again. Cirrus stamps his feet and complains that you got in his way. It's not her fault, Cal says. She didn't know we were playing a game. Give me a sec. I want to teach her how to play. Cal turns to you as Cirrus leaves. Sorry, Solana, he says sheepishly. I was teaching Cirrus a new game, but he's more like Anemone than I thought. Real competitive, you know? He stoops to pick up the blindfold, brushing off the dirt. I've been trying to come up with different kinds of games other than sports ball, he says. No winners or losers. I just want to have fun with my friends. Cal looks at you hopefully. Do you want to learn how to play? I can either say, that sounds like a total waste of time, which I suspect is what Tangent was saying, or let me check my schedule. Yes? Which obviously I'm going to choose because I'm befriending him. Because he is adorable. He's very cute. The art is just so, I really like the art in this game. It's really cute. Let me check my schedule. Yes. Cal's smile looks like it's going to stretch right off his face. Radical, he shouts, jumping up and down with excitement. Okay, so first put on this blindfold. Okay, I'm making friends with Cal. The blindfold is a little scratchy. Oh, this isn't good, folks. I'm about to have an episode. I'm sure of it. It feels like it anyway. The blindfold is a little scratchy and smells like dirt. You can feel Cal's big hands on your shoulders. I'm going to spin you around, and when I let go, you got to listen to my instructions. We're going to walk all the way to the cafeteria, okay? You nod. You can't see Cal's grin, but you can hear it in his voice as he spins you around and counts to 10. 1, 2, 3. First, Cal says, you got to walk forward 10 steps. Do you follow Cal's instructions as best you can or make things difficult for him? Oh, I'm going to do my best. Because Solana doesn't want to make a fool of herself. You take 10 steps straight forward, holding your hand out for balance. The rocky dirt between the garden beds crunches under your feet. Yeah, Cal says. Now, turn to your right and take 15 steps until you get to the door. Get it right. You need empathy 10 or greater. Oh, I have high empathy, so I know that this is important to him. So my only option is to get it right. I wonder what option I would have if I didn't, but I'm very pleased. You turn to the right and walk forward, counting out 15 steps. When you stop, Cal laughs. You can hear his footsteps crunching behind you. I forgot how much bigger I am than you. You're like 2 more steps away. You take 2 more steps until your outstretched hands land on the warm metal of the door. Success. That's a fun and cute little detail that his number of steps, that he has an estimate of how many steps it would take to get places, because he has physicality, he embodies his body enough to be familiar with how many steps it would take. I would have no idea how many steps it takes to get anywhere, but he has an idea. But then there's like this slight difference between your builds that he now thinks about. Oh, right, that's why this is happening. Okay. Awesome, Cal says. You can't help but smile. This is fun. Now hit the door button on the right and then keep walking forward until I say stop. Go really slowly, okay? Something bad's going to happen. I'm afraid. We'll see. I could trust in Cal to keep me safe. You open the door and start to walk forward. The path slopes downward and your feet slip a little bit, even though you're moving as slowly as you can. Real dirt is nothing like the metal floors of Stratospheric. It's turbo rocky here, Cal says, and you can feel uneasiness prickle up the back of your arms. Just keep going forward slowly. I do not have high enough empathy to trust him, so I'm going to second guess him, which is probably going to make him sad, but that's okay. How would you have empathy 20? I want empathy 20. I'm going to work at it. I'm trying. I at least had some empathy and some creativity, so we're going to choose the only option we've got. Can you trust him? You try to do as you're told, but after a few steps, your foot knocks against a sprawling root and you fall forward, catching yourself on your hands and knees. Ouch! You tear off the blindfold, a sudden rush of tears flooding your eyes. Cal's beside you in an instant, kneeling on the rocks. Are you okay? He asks. You look down at yourself. Your knees and hands are pretty scraped up and your pride is bruised. But other than that, you're okay. Oops. Cal helps you stand. I'm sorry, Solana. I'll be a better helper next time. He asks if you want to get some potato juice at the cafeteria instead. You spend the rest of the afternoon brainstorming more games where there are no winners or losers. I like that. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how that turned out. Hi, Dis. Dis is hanging out near the south gates, his hands in his pockets, idly staring at the ground and digging the toes of his boots into the dirt. He nods at you, but doesn't say anything. I want to give him something. We'll see if I'm able to give him something. All right, what's up? I'm bored. Okay, yeah, she's just complaining about not getting enough attention. All right. And I cannot talk to Tammy because she's not here. Well, that appears to be all of the talking that I can do. Except to the adults. What does Dad say? True love is hurtling yourself into space with someone and hoping for the best for your children. That's cute. Have I read this one out loud yet? Your dad is watching your mom work. You can practically see the hearts in his eyes. Your mom's an incredible lady, he says dreamily. True love is hurtling yourself into space with someone and hoping for the best for your children. Ew, Dad, gross. Mom have anything new to say? No. Okay. Sorry, Uncle Tonin. I want to just go and do more school stuff. Let me see. I don't think I saw anything that I could get. Anything that I could pick up. I should probably put some more points in some more things, but I'm not. Maybe there's not something to pick up every month. Well, that's too bad. I'm trying to remember. The errand running, I think, needs multiple things that I don't have. Toughness or organizing. And I have like 2 points, 1 point in organizing. So no. Let's view the notice board. The food shortfall is low. Security rating is evaluating. Xenofauna have been sighted in the area. Survey teams are investigating. All right. The administration is the same as it was last time. Okay, there's nothing else. Okay, well. In that case, let's go do some more. Let's go do some more study. Do we study the humanities? Again, I really want to study the humanities. I want to get my humanities up. They're at like 10 and 11. My reasoning is at like 20 and 21 or something like that. So like I should do engineering, but I want to study the humanities. It's really slow growing. Just not interested in life sciences. I want to study humanities. I think I should study engineering. But no. I'm trying to multi-class. And didn't you see I pushed through and I did good. So I'm going to push through. I'm going to study humanities. Oh no. What? It's impossible to partner with either Tange or Mars for group work this month. Every time you try to get one of them to be your partner, they're already stuck to each other like glue. You can't imagine they'd be friends, but the evidence is right before your eyes. Oh no. Oh no. Did Tange notice that Mars is really pretty? Get to work. Studying humanities. Ah, okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Because that's 14. Oh! Okay, so this is worth more. That's 16. I think that's probably about as good as it's gonna get. Yeah. Yeah, I think 16 is probably about as good as it's gonna get. All right. I guess we better win. I don't think I can do better than that. I feel like that's pretty solid. I feel like that's a nice bit of overkill. The talent show champion is doing well. Win. I got an extra point in creativity. Look at her. Oh, and I got extra kudos too. Yay. Because I'm currently popular because I won a thing. Yes. So now my creativity and empathy. Oh, my empathy's not going up. My persuasion is going up. I want that to be at least 10. I feel like 10 is a good cutoff. Maybe when I get maybe one more persuasion and creativity, and then I'll go back to upping, because I think probably engineering at 20 would be good. I can alternate them. Okay, so some months don't have a lot. Good night, Chrono. We'll see you we'll see you Thursday if you're free then. I will be doing more Auden on Thursday. We're going to keep going with this for a little bit. It seems like I like this. Some months are more intense than others. So, ooh, there's a guitar. Did you hear the guitar? Tangent looks up at the sky and shades her eyes. It's too bright, she complains, and it's too hot. And the nights are cold. Living on the stratospheric meant we never had to experience discomfort. Remind me, why aren't we putting our resources into repairing the ship? Can't study together until my reasoning is higher. So I can't make my... that's a reason for me to do more of this. Maybe I'll do that so that I can study together with her so that we can increase our friendship, which I want. And it makes perfect sense for them to have some months be longer than others. Also, the lore dump that I got might not take as long for other people to go through. Okay. It's interesting that bravery is the stat for him. Cal looks up at the sky, shading his eyes. I wonder when it's gonna rain again, he says. The heat doesn't bother me none, but after a while the plants are gonna get all toasty. Okay, yeah, so there's not a whole lot for me to do here. Okay. Not a single one of the kids has an exclamation point. All right, well, I guess I'm going to go study engineering so that I can work towards being able to study with her again. My reasoning's not going to get there anytime soon, but I also feel like 20 is a cutoff, so I want engineering to be over that cutoff. And then I'll work on getting... creativity is fine, actually. No, I should probably... Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do another year, or another month. We're going to do engineering. Let's do engineering. Why not? We'll do engineering. Hi, kids! The ship's onboard intelligence congruence glides into the room on her ceiling track, and the class cheers. Ah, great. She's got a little, pad thing. Congruence is so cool. She's like a person, but also a machine. She knows a lot of jokes and can tell you anything about space. She never gets bored or frustrated by your questions. You all know me, she says, but I'll bet some of you have questions about how I work. What do you want to know? Oh my God. I'm going to ask all of these questions. If I can. I can say, how do you know so many things, or what's your job? Let's start with, how do you know so many things? Just listen is also an answer, which probably does something, but how do you know so many things? My brain is big, she explains. It's just enormous, really. Much bigger than this little monitor you see here. And it's connected to the ship's HoloNet, so anything you can look up on your holopalms, I just know. How cool is that? What's your job? Well, right now, part of me is showing animal videos to children in the crush, and part of me is here teaching you, but most of me is monitoring the engines which give us power and the life support systems that make it comfortable in here. Do you have to eat and poop? Because these are 10-year-olds. She laughs, which has never sounded quite the same as a real person's laugh to you. I guess you could say I eat electricity, but not in the same way you get energy from food. But no, I have never pooped. I think it sounds kind of neat, actually. I'm going to just listen as she does the rest of her talking. Congruence explains that she had to do all kinds of calculations to help fly the ship and land it, and that she was designed to provide a user-friendly interface to the ship's systems. But Hal has modded me to be far more than that, she says proudly. Now I can even tell jokes. Why did the computer cross the road? She asks. Amazing. Cal gave her a sense of humor. Wonderful. I wonder if they're going to fall in love. Okay. I don't know. Why? Do you remember what happened the last time we had binary? We're going to look it up. Letters in binary. Okay. We're gonna do this. You ready, folks? Okay. 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 0. T. Is that gonna be an O? That is, in fact. So is it going to be to get to the other side? I bet it is. I'm looking at... Oh, so that's going to be space. Yep. So that's going to be a G, isn't it? Yep. I think that it's actually to get to the other side. Let me double check. No, but that's not an S. Is it 0 1 1 0 0? 0 1 1 0 0 101. E? No, so it's not going to be to get to the other side because that last word begins with an E. Okay, so it's T-O. And then G. No, that's not a G. 2 space 0 1 1 0 0 1 1 1. No, that is a G. Okay. 0 1 1 0 0 101. That is a T or an E, and then this should be a T, right? Yes, to get space. But that's not 2. Oh, sneaky. 0 1 1 0 0 0 0 1. Q? No, that's not right. No, that's not right. It's just 0 1 1, then a bunch of zeros and a 1. A space. So it's to get A space 0 1 1. B. Y. Is that going to be T? Yes. T. So that's going to be an E. Space. And then that 0, 1, 1, 1. 0, 100. T. Is that an O? 2. Yes, to get a byte 2. Space. 0, 1, 1. Was that an E? Yes, E. A. T. And then what punctuation mark did she use? Did she use an exclamation point? 0, 0, 1. 0. Hold on. I'm not finding that last one. Okay, yeah, no, there's an exclamation point. Okay. To get a bite to eat. B-Y-T-E. Thank you. That was so worth it, wasn't it? Sorry, folks. Every time that happens, I'm going to do it. At least I've gotten faster. All right. Our goal is 10. Oh, hold on. Okay, so that's 11. Can I do any better than 11? I'm pretty sure that if I do this, it's not going to give me 11. I'm pretty sure that... Yeah, okay. I think the 11 is as good as it's going to get. Let's go with that. I did it. I got so many points. Did you see how many points I got? I got +4 at engineering. Man, my engineering is definitely catching up. My engineering and my reasoning are both doing really well. Okay. I've gotten so many kudos, stress, and friendship, so I think we're good. Late dust turns into early wet. Oh, it's a new season. Okay, I know it's technically the end of my stream, but I talked so much. I kind of want to see what else is in this season. In this month. I've got something I can talk to Tangent about. Shall we shut down? Oh, I've got 2 conversations. Okay, Mars has nothing to say. Dad has moved. Your dad doesn't have time to chat, but he waves hello. I think we're gonna have to rest next month. I could maybe do 1 more month, which will take me to 85, and then I'll need to rest. Yes, that is what I'm doing. Okay, we're gonna talk to Cal. Cal is sad again. That's okay. Just looking to see if there's anything else here. All right. Well, let's talk to the twins. See what's up. Tangent is watching a construction crew build scaffolding, I can speak, for the new engineering pavilion. They're using mushwood, which is so light that one person can easily lift a 10-meter-long pole and stack it into place. Good night, Lentil the Llama. We'll see you later, maybe next week. She points towards them. Human beings are so great, don't you think? Before we landed, this was all just dirty jungle. I've been learning, now it's civilization. I've been learning about adaptability in writing and biology class. The books say it's what sets us apart from the animals. Like, we don't need fur because we can make warm clothes, and if it's too hot, we can make air conditioners instead. Oh. If my biology was high enough, I could maybe impress her or make her mad by saying, oh, I know that would impress her if I said also we can sweat, but I have no points in biology. I'm just not. That's probably not going to come back to bite me. Okay, I can either be like, yeah, totally, or maybe the animals have neat adaptations. She probably won't like that, but... She's not being an equal opportunity nerd. She's not studying all the sciences. She's just studying some of the sciences. Solana doesn't have any particular attachment to animals, but she has loyalty to her dad. Her dad likes the animals, so sorry, tangent. Solana's going to be loyal to her dad still. She's still a really, really little kid, so she's still going to say some of the things that are... So she'll say, maybe the animals have neat adaptations. Tangent rolls her eyes at you. Maybe, but even if they do, I haven't seen any sign of intelligent life here. It's just those big, dumb xenofauna. Oh, I've talked myself into a corner. I don't know anything about the animals here. My dad has some that are friendly. So I can either agree with her and say, yeah, animals are super dumb. Or I can say, some animals here are smart and friendly. I'm going to do that, even though that's probably going to make her mad. Tange looks skeptical. They're still animals, Solana. Maybe they're just pretending to be nice so you'll feed them. You're lucky it didn't eat you. She folds her arms. Dorb's moth look cute, but one can eat through a bag of rice in less than 30 minutes. Even an herbivore can be dangerous here. It doesn't have to want to eat you to be able to hurt you. She has a fear of animals. Together you watch the foreman puts the blueprints for the scaffolding onto the folding screen of her hollow palm and raises it to the scaffolding to check their progress. I'd like to see an alien do that, Tange says primly. Humans look defenseless and weak, but we're the strongest species in the galaxy. Who else can literally bend reality to their will? Not a stupid alien, that's for sure. Alright, we got a little bit of xenophobia happening here, but about, like, actual aliens. You don't know that, Tange. There might be alien people that we just haven't seen. She's gonna eat her words. She puts one finger to her chin. I'm living proof that humanity is greater than our biology, she says. All of us are, really, with our genetic enhancements. We're the next step in humanity's evolution from great ape to galactic superspecies. I don't know that I'm okay with the direction she's going with this. I'm a little uncomfortable, not gonna lie. Tange, I thought we were better friends. I thought I knew you, but apparently I don't. You're gonna go all humans are superior to everyone and everything else. I don't know that I like that. Let's talk to her brother. Oh. It's pouring rain and everyone's trying to stay dry under the grass-roofed palapas. Everyone except Dis. Off in the distance, over at the wall near the sports ball field, he's definitely skulking. I can't follow him, so I could either tell someone or ignore him. I think he's allowed to do this. And I don't think that my character, I don't think Solana knows. Like, he's still inside the walls. He's not going outside the walls. I want to quietly follow him. I bet he's going to make friends with aliens. I bet that's going to be a source of conflict between the two of them, since she's so clearly been anti-alien. And he's walking over at the wall near the sports ball field, which, remember, there was the... I was like, oh, this is like a pass-through. This looks like a way that somebody could get through. That, I was like, that's not going to come back to bite us. I would like to follow him, because then I'd be able to see that he's going over the wall there. Do I tell someone, or do I just ignore him? I'm worried if he's going over into the wall. He's up to something. If he's up to something and I tell on him, he absolutely won't like me, but it might keep him from dying later. Which is worth something, definitely. What am I going to do? I can see an argument for either way for my interpretation of Solana, so... I'm probably going to regret this. But... do I tell someone or ignore him? I think I'm going to tell someone. Because at this point, I know that he... like, I think Solana, there's a disconnect between how I would think to interact with him and how Solana would think to interact with him. She's concerned about him. And maybe she's a little grumpy because she didn't like the conversation she just had with her best friend. So she's going to tell on her best friend's twin brother. I'm going to tell someone, see what happens. Oh, my persuasion went up and my loyalty went up. You tell Security Chief Rhett that you saw Dis up to no good around behind the garrison. He's too distracted trying to put buckets under various leaks on the roof to pay much attention. Thank you, Solana. I'll check it out later, he says, waving you off. If there's a danger to the colony, one of the lookouts will catch it. Okay, well that didn't go well. He is absolutely wearing armor, but it looks like he's like going to be doing like laser tag or something. You're not so sure. You know Dis. He's very good at hiding when he doesn't want to be found. Oh, man. Because they specifically say it's over here, and you see this. You see this. This is the thing right here. This is the thing I'm concerned about. Well, that's concerning. Maybe I can go and talk to you. You step cautiously through the colony gates. Well, hey there, Solana. Uncle Tonin tries to muster his old smile. I'm afraid you better stick to sports ball for now, okay? It's a tough world outside these walls. All right. To be fair, I am a baby child. She could put me to work. No, I'm good. I'm sorry, Mom. Oh, wait, there's a thing. There's a thing. I've got a log. Who would want the log? Cal wasn't interested in the log. Tange will probably be like, I don't want to touch this. I'm gonna offer him the log. Why not? Thank you, Dee says, clearly unsure about how to react. I'll, find something to do with it. Okay. How are my friends doing here? I do not have friendship with Anemone. Tammy's unfortunately passed. I have a lot of friendship with Tangent. Some friendship with Cal. Not a lot with Dis or Mars. And friendship with adults is not really a thing that you do right now. Okay, well, that happened. Let's go do one more month of study and then we'll call it a night, okay? Is that all right? This time we'll do, we did engineering last time, right? So I think I want to study humanities again. Are you folks okay with that? Or shall we turn off? Like, I know that this is like around the end of my stream time, so I don't want to make this super, well, that's fine. It's just going to be a few minutes probably. So I don't know that I have a full rant, so we'll see. Yeah, let's study the humanities. See if we can get a little better at persuasion. I would like to have persuasion at 10. I think that would be good. And creativity at 15 would be nice. Because my reasoning and engineering are both above 20, which feels like a good cutoff. Oh, I did want to eventually get to, well, that's fine. I'm not so sure that I want to be Tange's friend anymore. All right, let's study the humanities. Tange has a secret admirer. She's totes embarrassed about it, but even she can't resist how nice it feels when someone leaves you little presents. Not quite sure what she's going to do with all those crystals and plants, but you're sure she'll manage. Crystals and plants? Is Cal sweet on her? So this has got to go here. Hold on, let's see what happens if we do... No, that won't work, no. Well, no, we'll see what happens if we do this. All right. I do need to rest after this, I'm sure. And then I'll try to dispose of one of my zeros. Okay, 13 feels pretty good. I think we're pretty good. I think we're doing pretty well. I think it's probably about as good as it's going to get. So let's go ahead and win. Extra point to creativity. I will eventually be creative. Oh, I didn't get the kudos. Oh, I didn't do the best answer. Okay, well, that's too bad. Well, I didn't need kudos anyway. I did actually. I wanted kudos because I still have one more month of the kudos thing, but that's okay. You're having a terrifying familiar dream. A monster crashing through the walls. Unfathomably large, every part of it wriggling and moving and searching for something. It tramples through the colony as you watch helplessly. I feel like I've seen this before in this game. Time shifts to the wreckage of your home. You're picking through it, looking for something. Tears streaking down your dust-covered face as you lift heavy pieces of debris, searching. Well, at least that tells me what time of year that will happen. If it happens. You wake up shouting, "No!" But your voice is drowned out by a deafening rumble from the skies outside. The bedroom window is covered in water? It's pouring down from the clouds. You guess this must be rain, but you've never experienced it before. There's a bright flash from outside, then another crack and rumble. Thunder! It must be a thunderstorm. Gosh, I hope that kid doesn't get killed. It's still the early hours of the morning. You've already almost forgotten your bad dream, but you're too unsettled to go back to sleep yet. The rain beats down on the roof of your quarters, joined now and then with great peals of thunder like the footsteps of an angry beast. I can either hide under the covers until it's over, run outside and play in the rain, or go to your parents for comfort. Man! Oh! Which of these do I want? They're all really interesting. They could all go horribly, horribly wrong. I know that I'm going to need to stay in next month because my stress levels are hitting peak. Hide under the covers until it's over. Embrace this. Go to your parents for comfort. If I run outside and play in the rain, I might get hurt. But I also might see Dis doing something stupid. That's what I'm afraid is going to happen. Hi, Yuri Hart. Welcome. I see your name. You actually have the lesbian flag and a heart. So you are expressing yourself. You have symbols for your name. That's very nice. I appreciate it. This is the hat that I wear when I have to ask chat a question. All right, what am I going to do here? I want to run outside and play in the rain, but I feel like there's no way that just feels out of character. No, I didn't make it actually. A friend had it commissioned for me. So one of my mods had it commissioned for me. Did I hide it? Hide under the covers until it's over. Do we self-soothe? Do we bother the parents? Do we play in the rain? I can't see her playing in the rain. She's a little too cautious. She doesn't have points in bravery. Now, granted, that might give her points in bravery. But I feel like she's not brave. So I think I'm going to go to my parents for comfort. We'll see what happens. Anything could happen. One of them could be dead. There could be a monster. This could be the answer that makes you avoid any sort of issues. I don't know. It could be anything. But let's pick it. It feels like the in-character choice, and we're kind of YOLOing this time a bit. Oh, you should totally get this game. It's really, really good. The writing is really, really good. The setting is really interesting. The scenarios are really interesting. The music is great. The art is fantastic. And they're doing some really interesting things. I really can't wait to see more of what they do. I'm still fairly early on. I haven't yet made it through the first year out of 10. But we're going to keep pushing through and see how it goes. But I definitely recommend it strongly. If you don't mind spoilers for some things, feel free to stick around a bit. I'm going to be wrapping up at the end of the event that we've triggered right here. So it won't be that much. I do play flute. I lead a video game cover band called The Returners, and I play flute with them. And then I also do my own flute covers, and I occasionally do music streams here on Twitch. I'd like to do more, but I haven't had the stamina or time lately. Other than a concert a couple of weeks ago to celebrate Pride as part of a concert that was hosted on someone else's Twitch channel. Accordion, very nice. Music is so good. I'm a big fan. A big fan. Mostly I do video game covers. Yes, it is Wrath Month. Let's go ahead and go to our parents for comfort in this game and see what happens. Oh, more loyalty and less stress. Your dad is awake too, watching the rain from the large porthole in the kitchenette. He gives you a hug and you gaze out together. This is good, he says quietly. It means we'll have plenty of water for the crops. Pure, healthy water, just like on Earth. Everything's going to be okay, my little potato. Okay. I don't know that the water on Earth was pure or healthy, given what they've told me about the planet. Something's not quite lining up here, but that's fine. We'll see. We'll see. It's possible that the water here is not super safe. You hug your dad tight and hope he's right. Done. All right, we are now into mid-wet. So there's the wet season, and then there's whatever this other thing is at the end of the year, and then we'll start into year 2. Next month. I probably missed something interesting there, but that's fine. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this game, and I'm very much enjoying digging into it every chance I get. There will probably be months and events that trigger big long rants, and or tangents. But there's just so much going on in the game that hold on, I'm going to change one bit of setting here. Settings. Oh, we could skip scene text. Maybe I'll do that actually, because that way I can know whether I've read it out loud or not. Audio, constant music on. I think that means, yeah, even if I switch over here. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't work. Okay. The whole game freezes. Yeah, no, so this game is absolutely excellent. No question. I'm very impressed with it. I strongly recommend it. A number of folks who watched last stream went out and bought it afterwards and then spent 20 hours playing it. So if you think this looks like fun, nobody seems to regret having played it. And I'm really enjoying it so far. You get to choose pronouns for the main character, and you can change the pronouns at any point in the game. So that's cool. In fact, this little girl right here, she's a trans little girl. And that's super normal and allowed in the settings, so you can have fun with that. My character I've chosen she, her pronouns for, but I could change that at any point if I changed my mind. Thank you all so much for joining me. This has been a fun chill night. I'm really enjoying streaming this game. It's super fun. It's neat to think of like how many other paths are there. I don't know. We'll see what a difference it makes if I replay it. Maybe faster, maybe not. But yeah, so we're gonna play more Aiden on Thursday, and I might take next week off because my mom is gonna be in town staying with me on Tuesday. She will have left by Thursday, so I'll be playing the Thursday game. But I'll just keep this going. There will be some weeks that'll be coming and going, whether it's for like travel or health or something like that. So just keep an eye out. I'll try to post on social media and on my Discord to let folks know when I am streaming and when I'm not, because that is currently up in the air. Take care of yourselves. Be good. Get some sleep. Drink some water. All of that good stuff. And thank you for following for the new folks. And thank you for the subscriptions for those of you who are supporting me again. I very much appreciate you being here, and I'm looking forward to next time. Bye!